Could you kindly stand as we welcome the Honorable Premier? Please be seated. A pleasant morning to everyone. I bid you a most hearty welcome to April's edition of the Premier's monthly press conference. These press conferences are designed to bring a sense of openness, a sense of transparency to the Nevis Island administration. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, this press conference will be conducted as follows. The Premier will give updates and statements from the ministries, departments, and units within the Nevis Island administration, after which members of the press corps will be given the opportunity to ask their question. In so doing, we are kindly asked to give your name and the organization, the media house that you represent, just in case we have to give follow-up information to you. You're kindly asked to turn your phone, put your phones on silent, if necessary, on buzzer, whichever is convenient, just so that you do not disturb the press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium the Honorable Premier of Nevis, Mark A.G. Brantley.
Hi, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of the Premier's press conference. I see some familiar faces, so I will just get into it, but just to greet those who are viewing online and those who might be listening via radio. Let me start with some congratulations. I want to congratulate young Nathan Charles, who I'm told is the son of Division neurosurgeon Dr. Jeffrey Liebert, living in Jamaica. He would have won the national gold in his age group in the piano section of the 2026 Jamaica Cultural Development Commission competition. And so Nevisians continue to excel wherever they are. Congratulations also to our local Nevisian legendary musical icon, the late Joseph Jogo Brandy, for posthumously being awarded the Excellence in Music Award at the Odunde The Sound of Return Awards, which was held on Saturday evening under the distinguished patronage of Her Excellency Dame Marcella Liebert, Governor of St. Kitts and Nevis. Congratulations also to our first Prime Minister and only living national hero, the Right Excellent, the Right Honorable Dr. Sir Kennedy A. Simmons, on his attainment of 90 years. I happened to be there at the celebration at the Marriott, and Dr. Simmons is in fine fettle at 90 years old. So we say congratulations to him. Dr. Simmons, if you're listening, we wish you at least another 90, and if you can manage 90 after that as well. Happy birthday, sir. Let me also take the opportunity, members of the press, to extend my heartfelt condolences on the news that we all got yesterday, that the musical icon Elston Nero, known to all of us as King Elimat, that he has transitioned to the great beyond. I think that Elimat's contribution to music and to culture in St. Kitts and Nevis is second to none, and I would want to associate myself with all of those who are extending commendations to him on his life, but also, of course, condolences to those that survive him. We have lost a great. Let me move then to talk about some aspects of what's happening, and I start with the Ministry of Tourism. To tell you that the 10th anniversary of Exposition Nevis, our Tourism Awareness Month, is well and truly on the way. It will happen in the month of May, and the Ministry of Tourism will be celebrating the 10th edition of our Exposition Nevis. The aim is to alert the general public of the role and importance of tourism to the Nevisian economy, to showcase and celebrate the exceptional skills and creativity of our tourism stakeholders, and to focus on a particular theme or call to action. Exposition Nevis, for its 10th edition, will be under the theme Enhancing Nevisian Tourism Through Our People and Digital Innovation. Key activities for Exposition Nevis are always intended to spread the idea of tourism, the feel and the impact, economic and otherwise, of tourism throughout the community. And so we have a number of activities. Friday, 1st May, for example, the Heritage Village Open Day at the Nevisian Heritage Village at Fothergills. Saturday, 2nd May, environmental cleanup along the road in Pinneys Estate area. Sunday, 3rd May, Thanksgiving service at the Brown Hill Wesleyan Holiness Church. Monday, 4th May, we joined with the Jessop's community for the Jessop Seafood Fiesta. We have quizzes on radio. We have some island tours. We have various lunches and dinners. It is a number of activities, including the Nevis Tourism Youth Congress, which everyone looks forward to each year because the winner of that Youth Congress goes on to represent the island of Nevis at the Caribbean Tourism Organization Youth Congress that is held regionally. And we all know that Nevis has been successful in winning that competition more than once. I think we've done it now 3 times, if memory serves. So certainly we look forward to that. There's also a night at Passions, and Passions has become a very well-known restaurant right there in the heart of Cox in St. John's. And we invite anyone who wants information to please call 469-5521, extension 6441, or log on to the Ministry of Tourism's Nevis Facebook page. Tourism, as we say, is everyone's business, and we want everyone to get involved. Let me move quickly to talk to you about what the Nevis Tourism Authority has been doing. Now, I think members of the press, I've tried to explain in the past, I hope you remember, that we have tourism divided into 2 discrete sections. There is the Ministry of Tourism that deals largely with regulation and product development, and then there's the Nevis Tourism Authority, and the Nevis Tourism Authority deals with issues, promotion and outreach. In fact, I just passed a note here. I must apologize that we said Jogo Brandy was awarded posthumously. Mr. Brandy is still alive, I'm told, and well. And so, Mr. Brandy, please, I ask for your forgiveness. This was a note that I was given initially, so I now correct the record and apologize to Mr. Brandy, but still congratulate him on his award, having been awarded and recognized for his significant contribution to culture and to music. Going back to my statement about the Nevis Tourism Authority, I can tell the media that we've had a number of international media engagements and global outreach. We have had a successful New York media blitz led by our CEO, Andy Ravary, with top-tier outlets including Travel and Leisure, Afar, Forbes, CBS New York, NBC New York, and Travel Weekly. And Nevis continues to stand out for its strengths in culinary excellence, sustainability, wellness, and authentic cultural experiences, driving strong editorial interests. Strategic opportunities are advancing across broadcast and production platforms, including World of Travel TV, alongside diaspora engagement through I Am Caribbean. This momentum reinforces Nevis's position as a low-density, high-value destination focused on sustainable growth and long-term impact for the island and its people. Nevis was prominently featured across leading publications including Forbes, New York Trend, Afar Media, Travel Pulse, Travel Daily Media, Caribbean Compass, Travel Weekly, Rolling Out, Resident Magazine, and Caribbean Journal. We congratulate Montpelier Plantation and Beach Club, which was featured by Afar among the best boutique hotels in the Caribbean. And Travel Off Path has named Nevis the Caribbean's best kept secret for 2026. Pinny's Beach has also been recognized among the top beaches in the region, further reinforcing the island's natural appeal. Let me switch to the Nevis Mango Festival, a festival, as we know, that is framed around the sweetest fruit, mango. And the Nevis Mango Festival officially kicked off its press launch on April 24th, setting the tone for this year's celebration of flavor and culture. Headlining the festival this year is celebrity chef Eric Ajepong. He is a top chef finalist and culinary innovator, known for his bold, globally inspired cuisine. The Nevis Mango Festival this year will take place from July 2nd to 5th. I think we're now in its 12th edition, and the festival promises an exciting lineup of culinary experiences with the island's beloved mango at the center. I am advised that we now have some 60 local chefs who are lined up, who will be titillating your palates. Those from St. Kitts, you're invited to come over. Those from Nevis, of course, we expect visitors from all across the Caribbean. and indeed across the world as they descend on Nevis for what has become, in its 12th edition, one of the region's premier culinary festivals. You can get your tickets at www.nevismangofest.com with a limited early bird offer available while supplies last. I have reported here each month what is happening in terms of our collections from what we call the Tourism Development Levy. Why I do that is because it gives us a snapshot in terms of what's happening in the tourism sector and the critical tourism industry for the island. And our TDL numbers continue to show, that Nevis has been experiencing tremendous growth, strong performance in the tourism sector for this season. To give you some numbers, members of the press, our TDL for March 2026 yielded $710,641.55. That compares to $565,378.07 in March of last year, for an increase this year of some 25.7%. So our revenue has jumped 25.7% month over month from March last year to March this year. This follows strong performances earlier this year, and I can tell you that our January 2026 collections was $774,733.15, and that compares favorably to $502,406.97 collected from January of last year, an increase of 54.2%. And then February this year saw collections of $769,404.52 compared to $383,429.38 in February last year, for an increase of 100.67%. So we have clearly seen then January this year compared to January last year, an increase in revenue of 54.2%. February this year compared to February last year, an increase in revenue of 100.67%. And March this year compared to March last year, an increase in revenue of 25.7%. So I really do feel that that shows that we're trending in the right direction. Let me switch very quickly, members of the press, to tell you that the Nevis Disaster Management Department has been quite active, as we have taken on board in Nevis the very clear admonition that we prepare for the worst, even as we pray for the best. And we know each year, from June 1st until November 30th, we have the hurricane season. And so we continue to prepare, and so I come from time to time. It is bright and sunny and beautiful outside, and people say, why is he talking about hurricane preparedness? And preparedness is because we must stay in a state of readiness. And so the Colorado State University, they have done their forecast for this year, and they would have released that forecast on the 9th of April. And they're saying that they predict a below average season, which is good news, a below average season with a total of 13 tropical storms, of which 6 will become hurricanes, with sustained winds reaching 74 miles per hour, with 2 possibly becoming major hurricanes with winds over 111 miles per hour. It appears that this less than usual, what is the terminology they use, below average season, is largely being caused by what they call in the El Nino effect, which is expected to develop, and that fuels global heat, but can bring weather patterns that disrupt hurricane development. I, however, continue to encourage our people to remain vigilant and be prepared. We have continued through disaster management to execute training operations and training seminars and engagements for our people, and we had a training for instructors, which was done from 13th to the 17th of April. The workshop was geared to persons interested in becoming instructors and trainers themselves. We had 14 participants, of which 4 were males and 10 were females. Of the 14, 9 were successful. We have also been engaged with faith-based groups to do what we call in geophysical hazards, and we had a symposium on April 28th. The Nevis Disaster Management Department will host a faith-based symposium, on April 28th from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the MGR Park, Nevis. The event marks the culmination of the first phase of its multi-hazard awareness calendar. Now, what we're trying to do here is to bring the churches involved. We recognize that the churches and the schools are critical institutions for imparting knowledge and information. And I think that the director and the leadership at the Nevis Solid Waste Management Department, the Honorable Minister Spencer Brand, who leads that team, and of course Mr. Dyer, Mr. Brian Dyer, who is the man in charge there, that they've really done an excellent job in reaching out to the various stakeholders and ensuring that no one is left behind. Disasters impact everyone, and it behooves us, therefore, to train and develop and ensure that everyone has a level of awareness that is required. And so they are now working with the churches as we've been working with the schools. And in January, for example, we had an earthquake simulation. We worked with the Charleston Primary School in partnership with the Wesleyan Holiness Church. In February, we had a landslide simulation. We worked with the St. James Primary School in collaboration with the Ebenezer United Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic. In March, we had a tsunami simulation, and we worked with the St. Thomas's Lowlands Primary School alongside the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And then in April, we had a volcano simulation, working with the Joyce and Lywood Primary School with the Church of God of Prophecy. So this is really a coordinated approach to bring all the stakeholders on board. There are some U.S. universities that have study abroad programs in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we are pleased to announce that NEMA and the Nevis Disaster Management Department are coordinating with the Widener University, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and Utah Valley University for the annual study abroad program. The team will arrive in the Federation on 16th May and depart on 30th May. The team will be on Nevis during the period 16th to 23rd May and on St. Kitts 23rd to 30th May. So when you see these youngsters, I ask you, of course, to extend our renowned hospitality to them. It is a study abroad program and is also very useful for people-to-people interaction and for the public and people here to develop new friends and new relationships. We're having a second Tsunami Ready Recognition Program Summit, and the ICG Carib EWS XIX 20 to 24th April 2026. This occurred in Williamstead, Curacao, and St. Kitts Nevis was among 30 countries represented by government officials, regional leaders, technical experts, and international partners. That program was funded by the United States Department of State. So we say thank you to the United States as we continue to ready ourselves for any possibility of a tsunami. Let me move quickly to a topic that I'm very proud of, because I think that this is not spoken about enough, the tremendous success that the island of Nevis has had and the government has had in terms of our water supply and our water system on the island of Nevis. The Transwater Project, that is a federal project, St. Kitts Nevis-wide project, and consultants from the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, 5Cs, along with consultants from SEAC Solutions, visited the Federation from April 10th to April 17th. They spent April 14th on Nevis and met with stakeholders. I think they had an engagement on Von Radio as well. And we anticipate that we will have the proposal submitted to the Green Climate Fund by August, with a response expected, we hope, by March of next year. This project is intended to, again, develop the water resources in both St. Kitts and Nevis. In terms of our drilling program, we are continuing apace. We have now moved from the well at Braziers, I think it was. I hope I'm correct, yes. That well has been completed, and we are now moving to another well, which will be in the church ground area, pretty close to the basketball court and church ground, for those of you who know where that is. We expect drilling to resume in about 2 weeks. And then I also want to report that the third storage tank to be constructed by this government in the last 6 years is progressing nicely, and that is at Stony Hill. For those members of the press who are here from St. Kitts, I'm not sure if you know where Stony Hill is, but please go and look. You will see some towering tanks. This tank will add storage capacity of 500,000 gallons. And this is the third tank that this government is doing in the last 6 years. I think, again, that is quite significant. Just, again, for members of the press and public, with the installation of that tank, it will bring the storage capacity on the island of Nevis for water to 4 million gallons. I think that is certainly a headline that is worth reporting. 4 million gallons. That is the storage capacity that we now have. Public Works Department, it last week completed a section of milling and resurfacing on the Island Main Road in the Chicken Stone to Central area. During the execution of that project, the paver developed a malfunction which caused the work to be curtailed at that time. We have since fixed that and the work has been completed. And I believe that motorists would have a much more convenient road, a much easier road to travel on. The surface has been repaired, and we continue our efforts to enhance the infrastructure all across the island. In that vein, I'm pleased to report that we have completed the reconstruction of a concrete culvert and a section of roadway in the Newcastle Nisbet settlement area. This is on the village road behind the Newcastle police station. We have just completed a drainage, road widening and retaining wall at the bottom of Rice's village. The drainage of that area and the maneuverability at the junction should be greatly enhanced as a result. And we have 2 village roads in Gingerland who were recently concreted. First was the village road linking Claygut to Central. Only a short section remains to be done. And the second road that was completed was a short village road in Lower Hickman's village. Work on the Brown Pasture Morgan's Road is continuing. We are currently finalizing the final phase of that roadway. Work is ongoing on the Block U drain, after which the concreting of the roadway will be completed. Shifting very quickly, members of the press, to agriculture, just to let you know that after the very successful agricultural expo, that we are now moving to Agricultural Awareness Month 2026, the 14th hosting of the event under the theme Rooted in History, Utilizing Land and Sea. We have a number of events coming up, and we look forward certainly to working with the Ministry and Department of Agriculture and to seeing the agricultural effort here in Nevis as we continue to talk about food security and work towards food security, that we can see that brought to fruition. Let me update you on the Nevis Film Commission. Melody heals the soul. Melody heals the soul. The Nevis Film Commission is pleased to announce its partnership on the upcoming romantic short film, Melody Heals the Soul, which is scheduled to be produced in Nevis this summer. The production has received support from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, an internationally respected institution known for funding projects that advance public understanding of science. The film tells a heartfelt story centered on recovery from aphasia, set against the vibrant background of Culturama. On the island of Nevis, a trumpeter with a speech disorder and a determined medical student reimagine melodic intonation therapy through the rhythms of soca and the sounds of home before a life-changing performance on the island's biggest cultural night. The story highlights themes of resilience, healing, and connection while showcasing the culture and spirit of Nevis. The production will also create meaningful opportunities for local cast and crew members while generating economic benefits, encouraging knowledge and skills sharing, all whilst helping to strengthen Nevis's creative sector. Of particular note, the project fulfills the MFA thesis requirement for Lurik Rankine, a filmmaker of Nevisian heritage, currently completing the creative producing program in film at Columbia University School of Arts. Mr. Rankine was also selected as one of 16 producing students and the only black producing student to attend the famous Cannes Film Festival, where he will proudly represent emerging black filmmakers, Caribbean American creatives, and the Federation. The film is directed by Tamika Gishad, an alumna of New York University's Graduate Film Writing Director Program. And based on that name, Gishad, I suspect that Tamika is also connected to the Federation. The Nevis Film Commission is proud to support this meaningful production, which showcases the achievements of St. Kitts and Nevis diaspora talent on the global stage. We are especially pleased to share the information and to commend these two young people for answering the call to the diaspora to engage with, invest in, and champion the island from which they hail. And so we say congratulations to Mr. Rankine, Lurik Rankine, and to Ms. Tamika Gishad for giving back, for not forgetting where they're from, for putting this little island and this country on the map. And we continue to reach out to our diaspora to say, please come, contribute, help us build St. Kitts and Nevis. As part of Autism Awareness Month, we had a film screening and panel discussion at the film Focus Nevis, and the film was The Unbreakable Boy, a film about a boy with autism, and a panel discussion also took place. This all was done on the 26th of April at NEPAC. Panel speakers included Dr. Andrea Busu, principal of the Nevis Academy, Mrs. Simona Davis, behavioral analyst, autism consultant, and founder of AID Behavioral Consulting headquartered in Trinidad, Mrs. Ivorcia Brown, supervisor of the NIA Counseling Unit within the Department of Social Services, and advanced certified autism specialist, and Mrs. Josette Myers, my dear friend, who was a supervisor of the Maud Smith Preschool. Each panelist was able to share their knowledge and expertise on autism, its signs and symptoms, the importance of early intervention, and the need for greater awareness, inclusion, and support for individuals and families affected by autism. Let me quickly tell you a bit about PanGirl. I've mentioned that in several press conferences that we've had, and it continues to make waves on the International Film Festival circuit. PanGirl, as we know, was a film done by Juliet Jeffers, who's Nevisian, living abroad, but who has been very involved and very accomplished actress, producer. And it has just on the 23rd of April been screened at the Las Vegas Black Film Festival, where it was nominated for Best Screenplay. The film was warmly received, and Juliet Jeffers had the opportunity to engage attendees by sharing insights into the full filmmaking process behind the production. To date, PanGirl has been screened to audiences at film festivals in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, with more to come. And so we congratulate Julia Jeffers, again, someone in the diaspora, but who is giving back. And we thank her for her efforts in that regard. If I can shift my attention quickly to the Ministry of Health, and to report that the Health Promotion Unit, in collaboration with the Department of Community Development, completed Camp Health, Healthy Eating, Active Living that is holistic at the Jessop's Community Center. The Easter program targeted primary school-aged children. It focused on promoting healthier lifestyles through nutrition, education, physical activity, wellness activities, and guidance from health professionals, particularly for children and families managing weight-related challenges or non-communicable illnesses. Under the scope, the first quarter 2026 Digital Health Magazine, that will be released on April 30th. Members of the public will be able to access the digital publication via the NIA website and the Nevis Health Promotion Unit's Facebook page. I want to take a moment, because it's one of those units in government that I'm particularly proud of, the Health Promotion Unit. They do excellent work. They have been out there satisfying the mandate of the government that we do more in terms of health education. We feel that money spent on educating our people, money spent on delaying the onset of illness, money spent on saying to our people to take responsibility for their health, that is money well spent. In fact, it's a far cheaper approach to healthcare than leaving it to try and spend money to cure people after they've become ill. So I continue to use this rostrum at every opportunity to encourage our people to know your status, to get regular checkups, and to utilize all the services that the government has made available to you to ensure that you know what is happening with your health. We all can look healthy, but there are things going on in our bodies that could lead to real serious consequences, including death. And so I encourage our people to take advantage of these opportunities. We have all these pop-ups that the Health Promotion Unit does, checking blood pressure, checking your glucose levels, checking your, what's it called, BMI, I think, index. All of these are important things. Please, I continue to encourage our people to be careful about what you eat, be careful about the quantities in which you eat, ensure that you get moderate exercise at least, even a little walking. Some people say, well, I don't have money to go to the gym. You don't have to go to the gym. You can walk, you can run, you can do push-ups and sit-ups in your own home. You don't have to have money to go to the gym. And so I encourage our people to, please, just be more active. As I like to say, get up, get out, and get moving. Monitor what you eat. I like cook up just like everybody else, but the set of rice and chicken and pork and all of that, I'm not saying to stop because I'm not going to stop, but do it in moderation. I think that's going to be important. So whatever we do, do it in moderation. Control what we eat. Some of the youngsters, especially the young men, are engaged in excessive consumption of alcohol. Please, this leads to serious problems. And know your status. Too many of our people, especially our young people, are falling victim to kidney failure. We know that some of the precursors for kidney failure are hypertension and diabetes. Many people are saying they didn't know they had diabetes. They didn't know they had hypertension. They didn't know how bad it was. Sometimes we have a headache. We say, man, I'm just tired. Let me go and sleep, when your blood pressure is elevated. And these are what the medical fraternity refer to as silent killers, because we're walking around, there are no visible signs. There's no scar, there's no wound on our bodies. But on the inside, they're doing tremendous damage to our bodies. And so please, please know your status. Go and get tested. A lot of these things, if we know them early, they can be controlled, and in many instances, they can be healed. Take prostate cancer. A lot of men say they don't want to go because there's a rectal exam involved. I'm saying that's a small price to pay for you knowing your status. Prostate cancer is one of those cancers which, if caught early, is almost 100% curable. Breast cancer. I've spoken to women who say the mammogram is painful. It is, you know, it leads to a great discomfort for them. And I said, I understand that that's the case, but again, please, do what is necessary so that you know your status. We have free pap smears that are done. Know your status. There's no reason why our women should still be getting cervical cancer. Again, if you do your regular checkups and know your status. And this government has really been providing as much support as we can through the Health Promotion Unit. We've invested in a mammogram machine, state of the art at our hospital. We offered free mammograms at our hospital when we introduced that service. We offered it for a period of time. I think we got to 399, if I remember, because the minister was quite upset she didn't get to 400. But when these opportunities present themselves, please take advantage. When you see the pop-ups, go. Get your blood pressure checked. Get your blood glucose checked. Get your BMI done. And try to make small adjustments in terms of your lifestyle so that all of us can lead healthier lives. But this idea of everything, your foot start to hurt you and you say it's gas. Your elbow hurt you, you say it's gas. Everything in Nevis, when something hurts you, they say it's gas. We need to get away from that. A lot of people say, oh, drink some bush tea. I'm not saying the bush tea may not work, but you need a proper diagnosis of what might be wrong. So, again, I continue to encourage our people to take care of their health. Let me look quickly at gender affairs. The Department of Gender Affairs is pleased to announce its upcoming initiative, Own Your Future, Women, Wealth, and Home Ownership. I think this is an excellent initiative. It's a dynamic and informative engagement designed to support women in building financial security through property ownership, wealth creation, and strategies for maximizing retirement income. And so we ask you to contact Gender Affairs. The sessions will be from Monday 11th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. And they'll be looking at some interesting ideas: insurance protection, risk management, savings and investment strategies, etc. They'll also be there, an expert information hub will be available on site. And so we encourage women out there who are interested in home ownership. The government, again, is saying that these are important initiatives, and we're bringing the information to you so that you can better inform yourselves as to the approach. The bike program was held in Brownhill from April 7th to 17th, organized by my dear friend Malva Rollins from the Community Development Team for St. John's Parish. The Bike Not Bombs initiative was facilitated by Don Wilkinson. Participants were taught the fundamentals of bicycle maintenance and safety, including the principles of teamwork, brake systems, how to clean the hub, repair a flat tire, etc. And the good thing is there were 21 participants, 19 children and 2 adults. And the program, at the end of the program, everyone got a bicycle. That is my understanding. And it is on, and they also have introduced an ongoing monthly bike ride excursion, which takes place on the last Sunday of each month, starting at the basketball court in Brownhill from 3 p.m. And so this is a good program that has continued, and we are grateful for the Bikes Not Bombs program. The Community Development Month of activities is slated for May under the theme Empowering People, Enriching Lives, Our Community, Our Pride. And they have a packed schedule of activities, including the Jessup Seafood Fiesta. If you haven't gone to that, you must go. Everything seafood at Jessup's, an historic fishing village here. They have a hike to the waterfalls. They have building bridges, community stakeholder social. And then something that I'm very proud of, the Nevis Multicultural Heritage Festival. Why am I proud of it? I was at a function just last night. Matter of fact, I should have said congratulations. So let me do that now. To Pastor Bernard Brown and his church there at, what would he call that area? Coal Hill? I wonder if they call it Coal Hill. But his church there, which celebrated 90 years. 90 years. And he had a fantastic service last night, and we were all blessed to be there. But one of the chaps who got up to speak was Haitian. And I said to my colleague, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who was seated there with me, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers and I were there. And I said to him, you know, Nevis has become such a cosmopolitan island. Miko sings about it in Nevis Nice, I think, when he said he didn't think that he would ever see Nevis where we have so many different people here. And we now have almost every nationality reflected here. People from across the Caribbean, people from across the world. And what the Nevis Multicultural Heritage Festival tries to do is to recognize that diversity and to celebrate it. And so it will be held on Saturday, May 30th at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park from 12 p.m. There will be representation from several countries, including St. Kitts and Nevis, of course, Africa. Africa is not a country, but they mean countries in Africa. Jamaica, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Guyana, Dominica, Dominican Republic, India, Japan, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the Philippines, because we have a growing Filipino population here as well. The event will feature a range of exciting cultural demonstrations, including traditional cassava bread making, a live breadfruit dish preparation with Chef Michael Henville, and a captivating Hammond making demonstration. I hope they've cleared that with the police so nobody gets locked up, because they'll be showing how to make bushrum, Hammond, berries, as I think the young people call it. That will be happening there as well. Patrons will also have the opportunity to explore a wide variety of locally produced goods, such as refreshing local drinks, pepper sauces, jelly water, local candy, an assortment of locally brewed beers and rums, among other offerings. Basically, this is a celebration of our diversity. And so we really encourage Nevisians, Kittitians to go out and to support. I know I've been to a few of them, and it is fantastic. The level of food, the range of food. I was there, I had some Filipino food. Never been to the Philippines, but I don't have to, because the Philippines has come to Nevis. So we're able to go there and enjoy some of what they have to offer. There'll be lots of entertainment. They have a kids zone, they have DJs, they have garlic and the upper level band. A lot happening, and guess what? When I saw it, I wonder if they made a mistake. They say cost of entry is just $5. I don't know if that's accurate. Maybe they missed the zero. after the 5. But $5 is what they have said to me is the cost of entry. So please go out and support. They have a long list of sponsors, and we congratulate all who have come forward, businesses and individuals who have sponsored them as well. Let me shift my attention to the Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority. As I would have reported on the last occasion I was here, we are making great strides in our recycling efforts. And the Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority has now installed an innovative bottle-shaped collection bin. In partnership with the Nevis E&C Ports Authority, they have installed a bottle-shaped collection bin at the waterfront in Charlestown. This uniquely designed bin, created specifically for the collection of plastic bottles and aluminum cans, symbolizes Nevis's commitment to sustainability and environmental stewardship. Its placement at the waterfront, a hub of community life, ensures maximum visibility and accessibility. Now, one of the things I want to appeal to our private companies and even individuals who may want to assist in this regard, the authority is inviting people who want to get involved to join this initiative and create a bottle-shaped bin that can proudly display that company's logo. So you can use it for your own company's advertisement, thereby demonstrating commitment to a cleaner and greener Nevis. Please, to our residents and visitors, make use of these receptacles. Now I'm going to report on a matter because I was driving coming from the Brown Hill area, and just below Mem's restaurant coming down that area, there was a passenger bus ahead of me. And I looked up in time to see that somebody from that passenger bus had flung some plastic bottles out of the bus and into the trench on the side of the road. And I imagined myself in one of those movies where if I had a siren, I would just put it on and pull them over and give them a ticket. I clearly didn't have that authority, but I observed this myself, and I'm sure all of you observe these things from time to time. I want to continue to encourage our people not to litter. Now, how difficult would it have been for that passenger in that bus to wait until the bus got to its stop and to simply take that plastic bottle and put it in a receptacle? The answer is not difficult at all. But they just flung it out the window of the bus. I walk at mornings sometimes in my neighborhood, and I make it a habit to pick up plastic bottles along the way. And you'll be amazed because sometimes you can tell where the person sat and ate because they have left the styrofoam container with the food and the plastic drink bottle, left it right there. And I just keep asking myself, well, who in their house eats and leaves the dirty dishes right where they would have ate? We need to treat this island better. And I keep appealing to our people over and over and over. Let us do what we know to be right. Tossing your garbage, your bottles out of a moving car. Tossing your food containers out of a moving car. Eating on the side of the road and leaving your containers there with your fish head and your chicken bone. These things are simply nasty. That might be un-Premier-like language, but that is exactly what it is. We must stop it. And I want to encourage our people to encourage each other that we keep a cleaner Nevis. It benefits all of us. And so, I'm hopeful that we will use these recycling receptacles. On May 5th, the recycling truck will officially begin its service into communities across Nevis to collect recyclable materials. As you may know, through our partnership with the Republic of China, Taiwan, we now have a truck dedicated for collecting recyclables. And so we look forward again to that. And we're asking residents to clean their bottles and cans before placing them out for collection, and flat pack cardboard boxes to save space and improve efficiency. So when you get the cardboard boxes, flatten them, and then when you're going to put your bottles and cans, just clean them, run some water in them, and we pick up everything, and we are going to be now going around the community with our dedicated truck to ensure that people can dispose responsibly of their recyclable material. My last update comes from the Ministry of Education. and Youth Library Services. And the Department of Youth Discover Nevis Easter Camp, I'm told, went very well. The camp was held from Tuesday 7th April to Friday 17th April under the theme Discover Nevis, Explore and Experience. And the ETW Park was the primary venue for this. A total of 103 children participated, and they had 4 key thematic areas: Our Land, Our Legacy, From Then to Now, Nevis Through Time, Taste of Nevis, and Flora and Fauna. We had storytelling, we had visits to the Nevian Heritage Village, we had visits to the Bath Stream and the bogs, and a guided hike along the Mount Travis Trail. We are also pleased to announce the Summer Job Attachment Program. This year, it will be under the theme, Building Futures, Unlocking the Potential in You. And registration for the program will take place from Monday, April 27th to Friday, May 22nd. This will be followed by an interview period from Monday, June 1st to Friday, June 12th, ensuring that participants are appropriately matched to placements that align with their interests and career aspirations. Again, this is an example of the government partnering and trying to prepare our people for the next step. This job attachment program, the Summer Job Attachment, is to give young people some on-the-job, hands-on experience. I take this opportunity to extend a special invitation to members of the private and public sector to partner with us at the Department of Youth, if you have not yet done so, by offering placement opportunities for our young people. Your support is instrumental in shaping a workforce that is skilled, disciplined, and prepared to contribute meaningfully to national development. We also encourage our school leavers to take full advantage of this opportunity. Interested individuals may apply through the Department of Youth or contact the department directly for further information on the application process and requirements. Let me also take the opportunity to congratulate the organizer, Miss Nikita Thibault-Newton. She volunteered her efforts, her time, and her talent for a youth development pageantry academy boot camp that was convened here on the island. That was done with the sponsorship of Regency Assurance. The boot camp was held from Tuesday, April 7th to April 17th, and it happened at the Nevis Cultural Village. A total of 28 young ladies, ranging in age from 4 to 15, participated in this enriching program. And the whole idea, we know that Nikita is no stranger to pageantry, and the whole idea is really to teach these young ladies confidence and poise, and hopefully that will assist them as they move forward. We want to thank Ms. Thibault-Newton for her vision, leadership, and dedication in bringing this initiative to life. Her work reflects the very essence of youth empowerment and demonstrates the positive impact that can be achieved when young people are given the support and platform to lead. Let me announce that schools have reopened across the island, marking the start of the final term of the 2025-2026 academic year. We extend best wishes, of course, to our school leaders, teachers, support staff, and students, and wish them a productive and successful term. This is a critical period within the academic year. It represents the culmination of the year's teaching and learning, and as we know, it's also exam time. And so we would want to support our students. The public is advised that registration for the 2026-2027 academic year is also now open. Parents and guardians are encouraged to contact the schools within their respective communities for specific registration guidelines. Non-nationals, your children, would have to register through the Ministry of Education. We are urging all parents and guardians to take timely action to ensure that their children are properly registered, thereby facilitating a smooth and efficient start to the upcoming academic year. And then we come now to CXC. CXC exams are starting up, and written examinations are scheduled to begin next week. We extend best wishes to all of our candidates as they prepare to undertake these important assessments. This period represents the culmination of years of hard work, dedication, and perseverance. We are confident in the ability of our students to perform to the best of their potential. We encourage our students to remain focused, manage their time effectively, and approach each examination with confidence and a positive mindset. We also take the opportunity to acknowledge and thank our parents, guardians, teachers, and all support systems who have played a vital role in preparing our students for this moment. Your guidance, encouragement, and continued support are critical during this period. We urge you to remain present, to provide reassurance, and to create environments that allow our students to remain calm, motivated, and well prepared. We stand as a government in full support of all candidates and wish them every success during this examination season. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2026 Carifta Games and West Indies Rising Stars under 15 50 over bilateral series. I must mention that because, as we know, Nevis had some 10 track and field athletes at Carifta this year. 10. In fact, 11, I'm told, was selected, but one was not able to make it through logistical issues. It is unprecedented that number of students, young people from Nevis, representing the Federation at Carifta. What is also instructive is that the only medal secured for Sinkis and Nevis at Carifta was a bronze medal secured by our young star, Kimani Newton. And we want to really congratulate him. He got a bronze medal in the under-17 800-meter event and was, as I've said, the Federation's only medalist. Talent is in Nevis, and the youngsters in Nevis are showing up and showing out. In recognition of their achievement, because of course, whilst we had 10 youngsters going to Carifta, we also had 7 cricketers, 7, going to the Leeward Islands under 15 squad. Now, as I've said before, a cricket team has 11 players on the field. Usually maybe they have about 13 or 14 in the squad. Nevis had 7 players. I want you to think about that. Leeward Islands, 7 from Nevis. In recognition also of Skylar Connor, she distinguished herself by setting several national records at the 2026 Carifta Aquatics Championship, because you know in Nevis we're swimming now too. We're swimming now in Nevis. We're swimming competitively in Nevis. And so we want to congratulate Skylar Connor as well. In recognition of all these athletes, the Ministry of Education and Sports would have hosted a special press briefing and meet and greet to officially welcome and celebrate the outstanding Leeward Islands under-15 cricketers as well as the Carifta 2026 track and field and swimming athletes. And so we're proud that we're showing these youngsters that we appreciate them, we encourage them, and that they have our 100% support. Let me also recognize some of our young players formally. Carice Farrell, known to all of us, loved by everybody as Bolo. Bolo was awarded the best wicket keeper. Aiden Williams, who's of course, his dad is the famous division opening batsman, West Indies opening batsman, Stuart Williams. Aiden was awarded for the most wickets. And Deshaun James recorded the most catches in the tournament. These are all youngsters from Nevis. As part of our continued commitment to holistic athlete development, members of the press, let me take my time here because I think that this is important. As part of our continued commitment to holistic athlete development, the Ministry of Education, Sports, and its partners also introduced the A for Athletics program. A for Athletes program. A for Athletes program. This initiative is specifically designed to provide support for our student athletes, particularly those preparing to sit their CXC examinations, ensuring that they are able to balance both their academic and athletics pursuits successfully. And when I say support, I'm advised that we will be paying for exams and the like for these students. So we are providing financial support in addition to providing, of course, the support in terms of mentoring and assisting these athletes. That's why we call it A for Athletes program. We want to ensure that they're balancing their academic pursuits with their athletic pursuits. And so I think that this is an excellent initiative from this government and from the Ministry and Department of Education. I want to congratulate the Honorable Troy Liebert and his team, P.S. Zanella Nisbet, and the entire team there who are working to come up with these initiatives to demonstrate to our youth that they have the commitment of this government. I am also excited to say that the Inter-Island Primary Athletic Championship is back on the agenda. The Inter-Islands Primary Athletic Championship will take place on Sunday, May 3rd at the Nevis Athletic Stadium, beginning at 2 p.m. It will feature an exciting showdown between Team St. Kitts and Team Nevis. SKN Athletics has partnered with the Nevis Island Administration to bring back this prestigious inter-island competition. If you thought that the inter-primary Nevis was big, imagine now that we have the best athletes from inter-primary Nevis coming up against the best athletes from St. Kitts at the primary level. And that's all happening on May 3rd, 2026 at the Nevis Athletic Stadium. We invite the public to come out in full support and be part of what promises to be an electrifying display of youth talent, discipline, and sportsmanship. Spectators can conveniently purchase tickets online via the links available on the SKN Athletics, Department of Sports Nevis, and Department of Education social media platforms. And we also extend an invitation to individuals and businesses interested in becoming vendors for this event. If you want to vend at the event, you're encouraged to complete the official sign-up form via the designated link, also available on SKN Athletics, Department of Sports Nevis, and Department of Education Nevis social media platforms. Kindly note that the deadline for vendors is Tuesday, April 28th, so that's tomorrow. So please go on and sign up. Successful applicants will be contacted on or before Thursday, April 30th. We encourage families, schools, and the wider community to come out and support our young athletes as they take to the track in what will undoubtedly be a memorable and inspiring event. Ladies and gentlemen, I should have said earlier that the poultry processing project, that is proceeding apace. We have had some unfortunate delays there, but that was due, I'm advised, to delays in the supply of some materials that are necessary. We now have 3 containers of materials, I'm told, at the port that have come, which are to be moved to the site. And so we anticipate, therefore, that we will be able now to get some added momentum on that construction. I can say to members of the press that the cistern is 80% complete, the upper foundation is 100% complete, the lower foundation is 100% complete, and we shall be moving forward, as I've said now, that the necessary materials have arrived. They were, of course, ordered from overseas. And so I certainly look forward to the completion of that particular project as we continue to talk about, but not just talk about, to activate our plans for greater food security on the island of Nevis. I'll leave it there and take any questions that members of the press may have. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Premier.
Good morning.
And good morning to those who are viewing and those who are here with us from other media establishments. Shamika Budgin, Von Radio. Mr. Premier, can we have an update on the Destiny project? I know that it was mentioned that a committee was formed in regards to the project. So what's next? What can we expect? Also, is there a deadline in responding to the investor, Mr. Jansen? How are preparations going for our upcoming festival, Culturama 52? I know that you just mentioned Skylar Connor, and we all congratulate Skylar in her swimming achievements thus far. Now, does the government have any plans to introduce swimming in our public schools, or will it just remain private? How involved is the government on Nevis with swimming? In light of ferry operators increasing their fears, what does the NIA, where does the NIA come in all of this? Did the NIA give the green light to allow such a thing? Or is it a matter where they basically do what they see fit, depending on the situation? Right now, is it safe to assume that the hospital wing project has been put on pause? Mr. Premier, monkeys continue to be a nuisance on the island. donkeys are too. Are there any plans to deal with the monkey-donkey problem here on Nevis? And other stray animals as well? Especially, we know now that they also pose a hazard to drivers. So are there any plans to do anything about this? That's it for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Budgeon. The Destiny Project, the short answer is I do not yet have an update. The last conversation that I would have had with the Honorable Attorney General on St. Kitts is that the federal government had decided to put in place a committee, and they were awaiting the response from the committee on this project. The advice that he gave was that whatever process they engage in should be completed by the end of this month. And so that's a matter of days that we hopefully will have some response from this committee, and then hopefully a response from the federal government. You asked, is there a deadline for the developers? Yes, and that deadline has in fact passed. We are in a situation now where we aren't really certain if that project can proceed, simply because of the delays in St. Kitts. As I've said publicly time and time again, we first sent our analysis and our position to St. Kitts via an email to the Honorable Attorney General on the 23rd of December 2025. That's when it was sent. On or around the 27th of January 2026, the Honorable Attorney General requested of us that we send it from our Cabinet Secretary to the National Federal Cabinet Secretary, which was done. Same information, repackaged and sent on that date. The federal government, in the words of the Honorable Prime Minister, has treated that receipt as the official receipt. I'm not going to argue about that. It's a matter for them what they want to treat as official, but I can say that they've had access to our position from Nevis after significant consultation on Nevis. We used a period, I think, from August, September, October, November, eventually on the 23rd of December is when we sent our position as the NIA, Nevis Island Administration, having deliberated and engaged in widespread consultation on the island of Nevis. Bear in mind that this is a Nevis project. So having done that on the 23rd of December, we expected that the federal government would move with some alacrity. That has not happened. January would have come, and as I said, on the 27th or thereabouts, the AG reached out to say that they wanted information sent differently, which we did. And the Prime Minister has treated that date as the date that they formally received. And so, even so, it would mean that they have been formally in receipt of that information by their own admission since January 28th or 29th, I think. So if you say February, March, April is now coming to an end, it means that they've been sitting on that information now for the past 3 months. If you go back to December last year, it's actually been 4 months that they've been sitting on that information. Why? I can't understand. Because my view is that the areas that the federal government must look at are quite limited. They must look at the constitutional provisions to the extent that there is any control that they have, that is the federal government, but clearly matters of development and matters of construction and all of that for the NIA. So their focus should be quite narrow in terms of what the areas they need to look at might be. They have opted to put in place this committee. I don't know who the members of the committee are, and frankly, I am not sure that the committee is qualified to opine on some of the things that I think the federal government should be looking at, because the federal government needs to look at constitutional issues, right? The folks want, for example, to have a dispute resolution mechanism within the sustainable zone. That's really something for lawyers to look at. So I don't know, when I look at committee members, I'm told they've invited representation from the church, from the hotels, etc., which is fine. It means that stakeholders are engaged, but engaged to what end? Because at the end of the day, issues about the economic impact, the concessions, those are all within the constitutional purview of the Nevis Island Administration, not the federal government. As I continue to reiterate, this is a Nevis project. This is not a federal project. So the delays are quite disconcerting, but the Attorney General has said the end of this month, So we will see if something comes at the end of this month and whether or not the project can be salvaged given that situation. So we'll have to wait and see, Ms. Budgeon, as to where we are. Culture Armor 52, they did not send an update for me for this morning's press conference, but I do realize that they are in full throttle, they're in full preparation. I see they're putting up banners and all of that already. I believe they're going to have an unveiling of the candidates very shortly, and they have been moving at a much earlier pace. Over the years, we've had the complaint that everything is done last minute. Well, I think that this year they decided to move very, very early. And so things are already out there. I'm already hearing music that is being put out. I think I saw something from Pakis in Bath. I think I also heard something from Ultimate Band. So the guys are already out there putting out music, and I think that that's a good sign that Culture Armor is moving forward. And so we expect that C52 is going to be fantastic.
Will there be a release of the contestants this Friday?
That's what they said. There's going to be a release. That's what I'm saying. There's going to be a reveal where the contestants and all of that are going to be out. So that's what I've just reported. So they're moving quite early this year in terms of getting the public engaged and getting you acquainted with whoever is going to be the contestants for the various shows, etc. You asked about swimming at schools. Ms. Budgeon, we actually were the ones who introduced swimming, you know, the Nevis Island administration. If you recall, we had a special sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly to mark, I believe, what would have been the 7th, is it the, let me get it right, it would have been 1970, the 50th anniversary of the Christina disaster. And we had a special sitting where parliamentarians from St. Kitts and former premiers, etc., were allowed to speak in the hallowed halls of the Nevis Island Assembly. And one of the things that I committed to was that we would introduce swimming in order to ensure that more of our people are exposed to swimming and learn how to swim. So we actually started a program in the schools. I want to thank Ms. Terry Andrews, who was formerly at Four Seasons, but she brought a whole team together. And we have actually advanced from not only swimming in the schools, but we have brought in a team now that does training in terms of water safety. And a lot of our boat captains and even Coast Guard members and people of that nature have actually benefited from that training, which is now extended out now to things like CPR and water safety, essentially. I think the outfit is called WASH, and they come every year, twice a year, to do sessions here in Nevis. So we are actually, it is out of that effort, generally, that we started to see now swimmers emerging at a competitive level, and youngsters now saying that, listen, we don't just want to learn how to swim, we want now to compete. And that is why I've made the public commitment that we are working with the St. Kitts Nevis Aquatics Federation to build a competition pool. Because one of the things that we've realized is that, well, let me not say what we've realized. We are of the view that we can do more in terms of getting big people like us, you and I, Ms. Budgeon, to go, if we don't know how to swim. Well, you're Budgeon, so you must know how to swim, because Budgeons from Jessop's are famous swimmers. But to learn how to swim, we feel that some people may be more comfortable in a pool setting than in the ocean. You know, and the ocean has currents, and they also have something in there called fish, right? So people are uncomfortable sometimes going to the ocean. But we feel that if you do it in a pool, more people may be able to step forward. So the government has been very involved. To answer your question in this whole process, we are very happy that the Aquatics Federation has come along, and various swim organizations have their swimmers and are training swimmers, but we have been very involved. So I'm happy to say that we were part of the movement that has now created. And that's how I think government should function. If the government starts it and it gets momentum, and you let interested people now take over. And that's exactly what has been happening. The ferry operators, no discussion was held with the government. I, like you, heard that the fares were announced, new fares were announced. And I empathize with the ferry operators as I empathize with any small business owner at this point, because let's face it, facing increased costs due to this war in Iran and the surrounding conflict. And as a result, we can't demand that small businesses carry the burden on their own. And one of the ways that this is done in the private sector is to pass on that increased cost to the public, to the consumer. So I haven't had a discussion with them as yet, but I anticipate through NASPA, the Nevis and Seaports Authority, that we can engage with the ferry operators to find out, well, what are the parameters and whether, for example, these increases are temporary. That's an important question, because a lot of times we see in Nevis businesses use global situations, conditions to increase prices, but once those global situations ameliorate themselves, the price doesn't ameliorate itself. So once they add on that $10 stays regardless. So we would need to also discuss that. Is it a temporary situation? The hospital project on pause, I think I should say yes. We are ready to go, save that we had, as I've said, a financing gap on that. I'm still committed, the government is still committed to that. In fact, we have just met with a new group that is saying that they can offer us a turnkey approach to it. And I believe the Minister of Health, she and I would have met with these persons. It's a group out of India, and they've built hospitals all across India and elsewhere in the Caribbean. They're working in the Caribbean now. And so we are talking to them to see if they can bring what we call a turnkey. Basically, they bring the financing, they bring the construction, they bring what we need to get that job finished. So we are still committed to it, but I can say, yes, I think your word pause is a good word, because I have said that I don't want to start and stop. When this project starts, it has to proceed to its completion. And then you said, what was your last question? Monkeys and donkeys. Monkeys and donkeys. The government continues to be caught between the devil and the deep blue sea on this issue. Monkeys and donkeys, and let me deal with monkeys and donkeys first, because they don't have any owners. My government has initiated various programs over the years to try and assist. None of them has been completely successful, and you're dealing with a wild population of animals, and so clearly they're reproducing constantly. We have introduced monkey culling programs. We were actually paying individuals all around the island to, when they brought, evidence that they had unalived some monkeys, they would get paid. The problem that we have, Ms. Budgeon, is that we are caught between a rock and a hard place, because you have some farmers, individuals, motorists who are saying, get rid of these animals, they're creating a problem. And then you have others who say, can't go around shooting animals or getting rid of these animals, it is inhumane. And so we are really stuck. In fact, I don't know if you recall, Ms. Budgeon, that when we had a massive cull on donkeys, some people in the opposition here sent some photos to some animal rights, organizations. And I was bombarded from places as far as California, where people were accusing us of all kinds of things, that we were cruel and inhumane. We have to find a balance. I mean, that's honest where we stand now. We have to say to the community that animal rights lovers, that we are not seeking to be inhumane, but we cannot have the monkey population and the donkey population exploding to such a degree that it renders agriculture impossible on the island. So that is currently where we are now. Monkey and donkey, I don't know that there's anything that people do with the meat. There's some people who say that they eat monkey, I don't know. Donkey meat is not something that we eat here, although I'm told in the French islands they do eat it. They refer to it as sasso. Maybe it is something that we could export to the French islands, I don't know. But I think that we'll need some creativity in dealing with that particular problem. And as I said, we've tried. We had a monkey expert who we brought in from South Africa, and he was here for some time. And his strategy was to retrain the monkeys his argument was that because of storms and hurricanes over the years, the mountain areas were denuded of fruit trees. And as a result, the monkeys were coming closer and closer down to where humans were building. Humans are also building higher and higher up to go and meet the monkeys. So we have a clash that's happening. And his idea was to reorient the monkeys so that we were setting up feeding stations way up in the hills for the monkeys to go. Again, we had a hue and cry. I think one of the opposition members said we were creating a monkey banquet for the monkeys because, of course, they couldn't understand what it is we were trying to do. Eventually, that program fell apart because the gentleman had to leave. And again, we need to find a way. His program also had the long-term sterilization of the female monkeys, maybe of the males, I'm sorry. One, either male or female. I think sterilizing the males would make more sense. But there was a widespread sterilization that what they were doing was putting this product into the food that would lead to sterilization. But unfortunately, again, these programs didn't last. The monkey culling program, where we were paying persons to basically to go out and hunt monkeys, that program as well. I mean, you may not believe it, Ms. Budgeon, but we were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on that program. And it got to a point where it really wasn't sustainable. So we are having to go back to the drawing board. We recognize that it's a serious problem. Now, on the other issue now of stray animals, you know that I'm very passionate about that in asking our farmers to be responsible. Too many of the farmers get up every morning, open their pen, and the animals head out on the Island Main Road. All in Charlestown, you see goat and sheep coming down the sidewalk. And when they get knocked down, when they get attacked by dogs or whatever, the same farmers cry out. And I'm saying to farmers, please, can we exercise some level of responsibility? Not just open your pens and put your animals on the roads. And you see them all over on the roadsides. Take some control, because these animals have value. Sheep and the goats, the cattle, they have value. So we need to work together and to understand that we ought not to inconvenience each other in that way. We want our farmers to prosper and to do well, but our farmers also have to respect the fact that you have your little yard and you're trying to plant something in your yard. You don't want the sheep and goat to come into your yard to eat down what you plant. So just as they have a right, you have a right. And I think if I can broaden it to this overall society in Nevis, that's something we need to work on to do a better job of balancing our interactions with each other and understanding that you can't have your rights and only your rights, because it means you're going to impinge on somebody else's right. So, Ms. Budgeon, you've raised an important question. It's a matter that we need to look at to determine what more we can do in relation to monkeys and donkeys.
Okay, just a follow-up on ferry increases. A few years ago, bus drivers, they wanted to increase their fares and they faced criticism. Not sure if you remembered that. While we do understand that the drivers benefit from the government in some way or the other, isn't it unfair that ferry operators are allowed to jack up their fares, but the bus drivers won't be allowed to? Thanks.
Well, if you've made an assumption, which I don't know is correct. You said the bus drivers won't be allowed to. I don't know that that's the case. What I would say to you is that the bus drivers are governed on an entirely different system. You have the transport board that governs things like fares and all of that. That is why the bus drivers can't just increase their fares, because it goes through to, in order to have a standardized approach, the bus drivers are governed through the, that particular authority, the transport board, I think it's called. In fact, you can't even get a license to operate a bus unless you go through that authority. So the mechanisms are different. The levers of control are different. And the bus drivers, at the time, what the controversy was that the bus drivers had decided unilaterally that they're just going to increase the fare. And there's a process to do that. So your earlier question, remember, you asked if the government was involved in the ferry operators. There's no similar arrangement, as far as I'm aware, for the ferries. So it's a different, setup for ferry operators as it is for the bus drivers. And so we have to go through NASPA, for NASPA to coordinate with the ferries to see, as I said, whether or not these increases are justified, and whether those increases are going to be temporary increases. But it's not a perfect analogy to compare that to the bus driver situation, because they're under a completely different set of rules. Any other questions for me?
Morning.
Good morning.
Vernon George, the Observer. Mr. Premier, you mentioned earlier about the Destiny deadline. Can you tell us what date was the deadline? Are you still in contact with the developer, and what was his response? What is the name of the company from India you mentioned earlier to deal with the hospital expansion wing? Give me a second. This next question. Give me a second, sorry.
While you wait to get your other questions, Mr. George, I can tell you that the date of the deadline on Destiny, I think, was the end of March. The reason for that was that they had various contracts to purchase land that would have expired. I'm told that they were forced to renegotiate quite a few of those contracts and to pay additional sums to the vendors of those lands in order to continue to keep those contracts alive. Basically, the situation that the developers are faced with is that they can't go and buy these lands 100% not knowing if the project is going to be approved. So they've been forced to pay further amounts to keep the contracts alive. That was the concern. Am I still in touch with the developers? Yes. If not directly, I'm also in touch with the developers' representatives. They've had representatives in St. Kitts and Nevis. In fact, they've had their lawyers resident here for the last couple of weeks, trying to, get some momentum and some movement so that they can get this matter finalized. So I can answer that. The name of the company from India, I would have to provide that to you privately. I don't have that in my notes or in my head. What I can tell you is that the connection was made for us by the owner of the Patriots in St. Kitts, Mahesh, who was a guy who made the connections with us with this company that specializes in hospital construction and equipment in India. So we've had that meeting, and I don't want it to be said that we've taken a decision. All I'm saying at this point is that we've had a discussion, the Minister of Health and I, with these individuals to determine if they would be a good fit for us to take this project forward.
Can you give us an update on the Charlestown Police Station and how much money has spent thus far and expected completion date? Do you think the fruit orchard in Indian Castle, do you believe it's operating to its full potential? Can you give us figures as to which crop is mainly being produced over there? And do you believe that it is possible that we get, like how St. Kitts have the Tabasco peppers, would any crop down there be main crop to be exporting, or is it going to be just local? Last question for now. As Nevis prepares to host the Masters tournament later down this year, can you give us an update on the Brown Hill playing field and what facilities is being constructed down there?
Okay, thank you, Mr. George. Charlestown Police Station, I'm often asked for updates on that, and I keep reminding members of the press that it's a federal project. It is not a project that is either being funded or is under the control of the Nevis Island Administration. The last that I was told is that there have been some cost overruns at that project, And because of the cost overruns, the federal government that is financing the project is a national security project that they have sort of hit pause while they do their own analysis on those overruns that have happened there. The contractor is a local contractor. He has kept calling, and I have publicly and privately committed to intercede with the federal government to see how we can move this impasse forward. But I think that the amounts outstanding are still quite significant. The irony is that the work that is left based on the last update I got from the contractor is not very much. But because there are these outstanding payments that have not been made, because of this concern, if you will, about the cost overruns, we are being delayed. So I'm hopeful that they don't delay to a point where by the time they get ready to go again, the project needs to be restarted, right? Because the truth is that each day of delay leads to added difficulties there. But that appears to be a financing issue, and the federal government is dealing with that. The fruit orchard at Indian Castle, is it operating at its full potential? My answer would be no. I don't think it is operating at its full potential. I don't think it has got to that point yet. I still am very confident it can get to that point. For example, we had planted close to 5,000 coconut palms, and I believe that those coconut palms now should be at a stage where they're starting to bear. If that's the case, if you could imagine 5,000 coconut palms, it should be something where we could really be supplying Nevis with coconut water, or jelly water as we say colloquially, and cut down on the level of importation of coconuts from St. Vincent and from some of the surrounding islands. So I think that, Mr. George, there's tremendous opportunity there, not yet fully realized, but I'm optimistic that we are going to get there in the fullness of time. We had, of course, Banky, Mr. King, who was there, and Banky was very passionate about what he was doing there. He once told me he would be there even at nights talking to the plants, and so very passionate about his role there. And I think that the orchard benefited from that passion. When he left, I think that things did fall off, and we're trying to get that now back up to the standard. You asked about particular crops. I think with the 5,000 coconut palms that are there, that really should become the staple for that farm. If you look at coconut palms and how they bear, several thousand of them bearing at the same time should really generate some significant activity and significant income. We should be able to supply all the hotels, all the restaurants, etc., with coconut water from down there. So I think that should be important. You asked about export. We have not really had much of a discussion about export at this point because we want to satisfy our local demand where possible. I think the export comes in only after you've been able to satisfy your local demand. And something like coconut water in particular is in incredibly high demand locally. Everybody now drinking coconut water. In fact, a young lady told me recently that she even uses it for her hair, to wash her hair. I didn't even know you could use coconut water to wash your hair. So a lot of things are happening. Maybe I should try it and my hair will stop falling out. So I delay the onset of baldness if I wash my hair with coconut water. I don't know. But coconut water is in high demand. And so it's something that we would need to look at. But I think that could be a major revenue stream for the NIA through that fruit orchard. Masters Tournament, we are very happy that Nevis will be the host. I just would remind you that the government is not the host. Nevis is the host. So what we're doing down at the Brownhill Playfield is that we are currently spending some money to create a structure there, which is going to be like a bar and concessions area. The fellows have decided that they're going to put a little space on top as well for storage and the like. And so we are moving ahead with that particular project. We have also my good friend from Bermuda, Mr. Douglas, Dougie as everybody calls him. He's a golf course grounds expert and cricket ground expert. He has been helping in terms of preparing the field. And I want to say it publicly because I think it's important. Because just recently somebody accosted me and said, oh, we bring a man here and paying him all this money. Dougie is volunteering. Let me say that again. Dougie is volunteering. He has moved to Nevis. This is where his ancestral roots are, as many Bermudans are discovering and coming back home. And he has this expertise, and he has volunteered to help. And that is what he's doing. So I think that's important, Mr. George, that's the work that's currently being done there. I want to congratulate young Tyler Martin and the team. They're doing a really, really good job in terms of cricket in Brown Hill, bringing the youths together, keeping them together. And now I think we'll have a chance to showcase that. That field is one of the better fields on Nevis. I think we have the one at VOJ, and we have that one. Quite good. We have the ETW Park, but they've decided to have it there. And I look forward to the Masters tournament there and the crowds that we anticipate are going to come out. We're also improving the bathrooms, I'm told, at the facility as well. So we're doing some work to ensure, that's the government side now, doing some work to ensure that when the tournament happens that it's successful. Any other questions for me?
Good morning, Premier.
Good morning.
Now, just a little expansion on the Destiny issue.
What's your name and
Yeah.
just for the record, your name and agency.
Right. Glenn Bart from Television Caribbean, Channel 40. Now, given what the Prime Minister has said with regards to the committee, the length of time that they've had the proposal, and we don't know what's going to happen after the committee has made its recommendation, whether or not the developers would eventually withdraw because of the length of time it's taken. But the question will remain, if Destiny is not approved or it is lost because of the length of time it took to be studied, what would be the political impact on the CCM as one component, as well as Nevis generally in its development, if that project does not go through? Recently, the NRP leader, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, she, on April 23rd, posted an article, part of which stated that CCM, neither in federal or local elections, and I believe it actually meant governments, has not been beneficial for the people of Nevis, nor for the people of St. Kitts. How do you respond to that political charge? And for now, I want to also ask you about the relations between the federal government and the Nevis Island administration. I remember there had been a series of joint cabinet meetings. We haven't heard much about any such thing recently. What is happening along those lines, and is it something that's impacting development progress on Nevis?
Mr. Bart, thank you. Always thought-provoking. Some may say controversial, but thank you for your comment. If the Destiny project is lost, and it may well be, I think we have to confront that realization. What saddens me is that if it is lost, I would have liked it to have been lost because there's some substantive concerns about the project, not lost through delay, because that to me makes no sense. If you have a position and come forward and say what that position is, because then you might be able to assist. Where Destiny started as a proposal and where it now is fundamentally different, because we have negotiated and renegotiated positions, as one would expect. Most developers come in and they want everything, and you have to negotiate with them. That's what governments do. So my point is that if there are concerns, then bring those concerns to the fore, share them, and have those concerns addressed. And then we can move forward. But the silence has been the problem, right? No progress has been the problem. So that is a concern that we have, and we may well lose the project through that. You ask, what is the political impact on the CCM? I don't know that there should be any political impact on the CCM. As a party, as a government, we have brought development. We have gone out, we have found investors, we have brought them. We have taken some body blows in terms of this particular project, but we have said we are standing, because that's what government's supposed to do. You're elected to take decisions. And as I walk around this island, I can tell you that despite we have some individuals who are calling in on every radio station and writing on every social media platform that they are against this project, that is not the sentiment on the ground. Certainly not in my interaction with people, particularly young people. And I've said from this very rostrum, I said, when we look at those who are making the most noise about destiny, most of them are retired people. They have lived their life. Young people are saying, listen, the country needs something. We need to get some big project going here. Fellows are already contacting me, Mr. Bart, telling me that they've been online, they have heavy equipment lined up to purchase, etc. They're just waiting for the green light. They want business. I spend a lot of time in Gingerland, where I'm from. And they, in Gingerland, are really chomping at the bit because they understand that this is going to be in their mouth. Food is going to be right in their mouth. So we have, I think, a lot of sound and fury coming from one quarter, politically led. But you also have a large cadre of young people, business people who are saying, listen, the island and the country, not just the island, because St. Kitts currently is not faring much better in terms of the economic situation either. The country needs a major injection, and that is what I think Destiny. We're talking about over $1 billion worth of investment. Just the purchase of the lands, I'm told, would be significant, and we would have overnight a significant number of Nevisians who have translated that land from land in an area that is currently unused and undeveloped to significant financial cash money that they could then use now, which we hope as well will generate additional activity in the local economy. Our banks here are going to be even more liquid because a lot of money is going to be flowing in. And we're hopeful that that will then lead to a lot of people now investing. Let me build a new home. Let me build a set of apartment buildings because I now have the money. I've made how much millions over there, right? So the reality is that we're seeing a significant injection. And frankly, and I'll say it here because I believe it to be true, that is why the opposition is so afraid of this project. The NRP isn't foolish. The NRP feels that if this project were to start, that everybody going to say, boy, Brantley, bring a big project to Nevis. People working, people happy, people making money. So they're making a political calculation. And they're entitled to it. But let us not pretend that this has anything to do with what they think is good or bad for Nevis. If they thought the project was bad for Nevis, then the leader of NRP would not have sold her land to the developers. If they thought the project was bad for Nevis, the former premier and leader of NRP would not have sold his land to the developers. If they thought the project was so bad for Nevis, the brother of the leader of NRP would not have sold his land to the developers. So you mean to tell me all of these people sell their land? And then they turn around and they say, after this project is bad for Nevis. There's this level of hypocrisy, and that is my concern with it. I like to deal with people who say, and there's some out there, I have a problem, project is too big, whatever, it's going to change the complexion of Nevis in terms of how we do things. That is a discussion that I can have. But there's some people out there, Mr. Bart, who are, in my opinion, taking the one hand, cussing with the other. You can't have it both ways. You recall a leader, you asked me about her. I have not seen her in a while, but you said she put out something and she's saying that CCM has failed. But the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. And I keep saying to our people, I really don't care, Mr. Bad, how many people say that Usain Bolt is slow, he can run, he whatever. You know I don't care? Every time Usain Bolt line up, he wins. Sometimes in this country here, you hear people chatting all kind of things. But there is something that we have in our country called an election. When you and I and everybody else has the opportunity to go out there and say whether or not CCM is performing or not performing. And from 1992, I've gone back as far as that. 1992 till now is 34 years. 34 years. NRP has been able to win one election in 34 years. One. In 2006. They tried to force themselves on the people of Nevis in 2011. The court had to correct that and declared it null and void. One. We've had elections in 92, 93, 95, 97, 2000, 2004, 2006, 2007, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2017, 2020, and 2 in 2022. And over all of those, I run out of fingers. They win one. I got it hard to point a finger at us and say we are not performing. Well, when you point a finger at a party who has won every election in this country except one for 34 years, it has to be that you're pointing a finger at the people of Nevis. They are the people that you must be accusing of something, because the people of Nevis must know, Mr. Bart. People go to vote. What do they vote for? For the betterment of themselves and their families and their communities. So this is why when sometimes this rhetoric is out there about you've failed and you've failed. Well, if we have failed, how come the people keep saying CCM is who we want? You come back again, CCM is who we want. And they keep recycling. Dr. Janice Daniel Hodges, the fourth? I've lost count now. I think it's the fourth leader of NRP in the last, how long? Who was the leader when you were there, Bjorn? You went through a couple of leaders yourself, right? Hector, you know, Daly, Hector, Parry. This is number 4. They keep recycling candidates. Even the candidates that they had on show in 2022, federal elections, I'm now hearing, will not be on show this time around. So, you know, you can't treat, Mr. Bart, some of the things that people like Dr. Daniel Hodge said with any seriousness, because she's not a serious person, in my opinion. Well, when you, in the eye of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, you know. So she's a leader, but leading what? What is she leading? If you hear they keep recycling, because nobody wants the job, you think it looks easy to get or take? You keep ponging a man on the hand, ponging a man, the man going to move his hand. Paris said, boy, I can't take this no more, I gone. Right? Hector come, Hector make runway. Hector not even leave politics, Hector leave the country. And then you have some others there who are short-lived. And here we have a situation now, as I said, with these candidates, that they're not even going to give the candidates another chance to run. So you clearly have a picture of people who are there for the moment, but that's what comes when there's really no deep-seated commitment, no ideas. And so the constant diet is CCM has failed, Mark Brantley has failed. But every time Mark Brantley goes to the polls and puts on his blue boots, the people say, Mark, we're sticking with you. So I am not sure where this constant suggestion comes from, because the NRP has no record of success. That is why every time they talk, they go back to the old NRP of Dr. Simeon Daniel. Because since Sir Simeon, and Sir Simeon would have left politics in 1992, and since Sir Simeon left 34 years ago, there has been nothing to show. 3.5 decades, a generation and a half from this NRP. So as I said, I'm not sure why it is for me, and it is not for me to offer the NRP advice. But if I were to advise them, I would say, listen, focus less on me, on Mark and CCM, and try to focus on developing some ideas about what you can do for the people of Nevis. Because Mr. Bart, this constant diet of cussing and attacking doesn't create one job. It doesn't help to advance health care. Ms. Budgeon has asked me about increased ferry prices. It doesn't help control the cost of living. Come up with some ideas. Put some ideas on the table. Say, listen, Nevisians, we want you to come with us because this is what we propose to do. But absent that, many of us and the press probably didn't recognize it, but the NRP ran an entire campaign in 2022 without a manifesto. I just saw a headline from Antigua where the Antigua Labour Party is accusing the opposition in Antigua of the same thing, running a whole campaign without a manifesto. Well, if you don't have a manifesto, you know what that means? I am not making any commitment to you about anything. That's what it means, you know. And in 2022, an entire campaign was run, fed up of them, get rid of them. Fed up of them, get rid of them. Fed up of them, get rid of them is not an idea for the development of Nevis. It cannot advance Nevis. And here we have a steady diet of fed up of them, they're not performing, get rid of them. Without you now saying, well, what will you do? War in Iran, what would you do? Destiny comes, $1.2 billion US in investment. What would you do? Just saying we don't want it. And why is it you don't want it? Because my party is not in power. That really is what it comes down to. You would recall, Mr. Bard, if you follow the politics in Nevis, that the big brouhaha about my government is that we were not able to attract investors. You remember that? They said the investors out to sea, and they're not coming ashore. Another big investor comes ashore. They say it's too big, Nevis don't want that. It tells me that it's simply a situation where they understand that if trucks and backhoes and excavators and people start moving, if activity starts, the fellows in the bar say, boy, I just collect my check here for this week's work. That they see that as a bad thing politically for them because they're not concerned about Nevis. They're not concerned about the development of this island. They're concerned about the party politics. And they feel that if a big project comes, it's going to be bad for them. That is all that is happening. That is why every single project that has been proposed on Nevis by this government has been opposed by the NRP. Everyone. Mondo Track, water taxi, Newcastle police station, go down the line. Every single one has been opposed. Because they just feel that if something happens and materializes for the benefit of the people, that CCM going to get credit. And so let's oppose it. That's really what it's about. We sat in this very room, differently configured, with the two members in the opposition, the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons and the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. And we sat in the room with them and briefed them on the Destiny project. They had every opportunity to ask, to add, to share their ideas on the project. I went further and I said the decision of the cabinet is to appoint an oversight committee on the implementation of the project, and I wrote to them inviting them to nominate a member to that committee. They wrote back indicating some concerns, so that process has not moved forward. But it's a process to which we are committed. I said that to say, Mr. Bart, that they've had opportunities to engage. But they're not interested in engaging. They're not interested in offering anything constructive. They're just interested in firing off these missives, writing on Facebook, going on the radio. And if that is ultimately what the people of Nevis want, then I respect the will of the people. But the people of Nevis, to my mind, deserve much better. I am not standing here as the leader of a party and the leader of this island saying that I am perfect and that we have been able to accomplish all that we want to do. That would not be the truth. But what I can say, with every conviction and every fiber in my body, is that every morning we get up and we try. Every day we come with a new idea, a new innovation, a new approach to try to advance this island that we love. If all that you can offer is cussing, if all that you can offer is a constant diet of negativity, then how does that help Nevis? And that's what I come back to. Get rid of them, be fed up of them. After you've got rid of them, after the people have said, I agree with you, we're fed up of them, how does that build a house for a single mother? How does that lower the cost of health care? How does that help us finish the hospital? And this is what I want Nevisians to get to. If you're going to go out there and you're going to say that this government is failed or whatever, well, let's look at the record. The song King Connie said, he said, show me your trophy. Let's look at the record. I want you, Mr. Bart, in one of the days when you're over, just take a drive around Nevis. I want you to look at the quality of our roads in Nevis. I want you to look at the quality of our housing developments in Nevis. I want you to go to Maddens, go down to Rice's, go into Chimney Crescent, go up there to Craddock Road, go up to Hamilton. See what we are doing. When I went down to Rice's, I was told, I think we did about 8 homes down there, and 6 of them are owned by single parents, single mothers. We're empowering people. When I come here every month, I report on various projects and programs. This is what we're doing. Look at our seniors program. Look at the brand new program we've just announced today, where we are saying to our student athletes, the government is going to pay your exam fees. We're going to provide support for you because we want you to develop holistically. Look at the assistance that we just rolled out for our single parents in terms of preschool. Understanding that preschool, some of them could not afford to send their children to preschool, and it was adding a burden to them to have to work and still worry about daycare for their children. All of these things this government has done and continues to do. I mentioned free mammograms at the hospital, the work of our health promotion unit, a brand new CT scan at the hospital, brand new ambulances at the hospital. We have developed this island, and when you look around, because this government, MGR Park, the work at Pinnis Beach, the water taxi facility that so many people marvel at, all of that has been done. And when we look around, we see the private sector as well has responded and continues to respond. Right now, I think they're going to have soon the opening of a new restaurant in Pinnis Beach, coffee shop. We should have a coffee there, Mr. Bart, one day. We look at Belmont, what's it called on here? Belmont Gardens, I think, right there, the thing of Pinnis, where they have shops and mojos and all of that. All done with concessions from this administration. It's a development that is going on up now at Bush Hill. That is, the government is committed to assisting and working with private local developers. So it is not only what the government is doing, it's also how the private sector has been responding. Nevis now making its own beer. Who would have thought you could get a local beer produced in Nevis? Good beer too, I'm told. So the reality is, Mr. Bart, that I think that when we present the evidence, I noted some Social Security statistics recently. It generated a lot of chatter. But Social Security is telling us that in the last 5 years or so, Nevis has more jobs than workers. We are job rich. So the gap is 400 to 500. That is the number of jobs and the number of workers. You know what's happening? That people now are saying, well, I could work 2 jobs, 3 jobs if I want to. And we see people rushing in here from especially the neighboring islands who are coming in now and taking up those opportunities. When I meet people, Mr. Bart, who can't speak English, but working 3 jobs in Nevis, well, how they manage that? And they don't habla English, but they work in 3 jobs in Nevis. And you got Nevisians, some of them say, oh, things bad and things this and things that. But somebody who no habla English, working 3 jobs, getting 3 pays every week, and building themselves and their families. And my simple point is, there is opportunity here on this island. So where we need our politics to go is to have a debate about ideas. Mark Brantley and CCM bring this $1.2 billion Destiny investment. we don't want that because we propose this instead. But if you just say we don't want that, full stop, where does that take us? And I have not yet heard the leader of NRP say she's giving back the people their money. That might have been a good start. I say it. She threatened to sue me, you know. Send a long letter. And after we send back the letter, the response, we haven't heard anything further. Because there was an attempt to mislead the people of Nevis to say I didn't sell any land. In fact, if you find out I sell any land, I'm going to resign. Well, I went to law school, spent some time there, and I understand. And that is why when I speak, I can speak publicly on certain matters. I never come to the public to speak on a matter unless I have the evidence to support what I'm saying. And so when I said she sold her land, and nobody in my view has called out the hypocrisy of selling 25 acres of land to people and then come back now and say, oh, you don't want this project and this and that. I saw something in some magazine from the US, the New York Times or something, where a comment was attributed to the leader of NRP who said she did not know what the land was going to be used for. She has gone from not selling any to now saying, I didn't know what it was going to be used for. Well, if you want to be the leader of this island, and you're sitting on 25 acres of land, and people come and want to buy that amount of land, you don't ask some questions, Mr. Bat? You don't want to find out, well, what is the intention here? So I don't even know, because to me, every statement that is made about this matter confuses me. Right? And that is, as I said, the level of hypocrisy that we have seen. I can go on, but I will leave the matter there. You asked about the relation between the Federation, the federal government, and the NIA. Relations are still good. It is true we have not had a joint cabinet meeting for some time, but I will tell you, Mr. Bat, that it was due to scheduling, because there have been various efforts made to convene it, but it wasn't convenient. So I anticipate that will continue. I think it's a good thing for the two cabinets to meet, and we normally try to do it once a year, but it did not happen. I don't think it happened last year. I think it happened last year. It has not happened yet this year. And I know that the Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Natter, and the Nevis Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Truss, they have been working together to try and find a convenient date. But the relationship is good, but in any relationships, even husband and wife sometimes, you have disagreements about things. And clearly we're having an impasse here on this destiny matter, where the federal government is not saying no, but they're also not saying yes. They're simply saying we're waiting on this committee. So I'm hoping the committee can come forward by the end of this month as promised, and we can have a decision made on that. So we can move that matter forward. Thank you.
Good morning, LK Hewlett, Department of Information. Let me start at the bottom and work my way up. Okay, there's some construction going on the grounds right next to, I think it's the same property of the Alexandra Hospital. Can you give us an update on what that is about? We see there are some areas in St. Kitts that are still suffering from a lack of a steady water supply and have to get water from trucks. I live in the heart of Charlestown, so I have the benefit of, I've never had a water issue. But are there any areas of Nevis that have presently any challenges with respect to the supply of water? We've seen an uptick in gun violence in St. Kitts, and we know they say when your neighbor's house is on fire, throw water on your own. Can you speak to the peacekeeping efforts on Nevis? How do you anticipate exogenous shocks, mainly stemming from the U.S. government's war with just about everybody, will impact the local economy in the short term and the medium term? Has a contract been signed for geothermal production, and while financing for that phase has been secured, hold on. Okay. Right. So while financing for that phase has been secured, where does the NIA stand on financing for the next phase, which I assume would be construction of a plant and the distribution of clean power? Finally, all indicators seem to be pointing to a federal election in the very near future. Would the CCM be ready if the bell is rung tomorrow? Thank you.
Ms. Hewlett, thank you very much. You're only ever slightly less controversial than Mr. Bach, but let me try to answer your questions. The construction activity at Alexandra Hospital grounds, the government will make a fulsome statement on that in due course, but I can tell you that what we're trying to do there is to create a facility which will add significantly, in our view, to the services that are being made available at Alexandra. There has been some chatter out there about the facility already, but I can tell you that having engaged with the stakeholders and those who need that particular service, it is something that they're looking forward to with bated breath. They want that service in Nevis, and so we're working to provide that service. The reason why I have not yet made a statement in terms of specifics is that we have an issue that has developed about the funding of what we are seeking to do, and we're just trying to get that buttoned down. Not that there's a lack of funding, let me be clear. There's a question of who is going to provide what in terms of that funding. It's intended to be a joint venture between the government and another entity that's providing that funding. So I have been delaying because I think I want, when I come, to make a full statement with all of the information, and some of that information is not yet available to me. So
It would be a PPP?
no. It's just that, when I say a joint venture, I mean in terms of delivering the service, but it will be entirely government owned and government controlled, right? And so I would want to do that. We're in the process of putting something together, and I think that the public can be assured that they'll have a statement very soon on the full details of that particular project. The levels of water in St. Yes, I've seen the trucks are still moving around in St. Kitts in some areas. I'm happy to report that, so far as I'm aware, all areas in Nevis are fully serviced by water, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a matter that I feel very, very proud of, and I continue to give kudos to the Honorable Spencer Brand and his team. And even when we have thought that the investment should stop because we have enough water, they have continued to invest. So the work has never stopped, and I reported in my early part of the conference that we are even currently installing another 500,000 gallon water tank at Stony Hill, and that will bring our storage capacity to 4 million. As I've said repeatedly, Ms. Hewlett, our approach was to spend money on distribution, improve that. Then we spent money on storage to the point where we're now up to 4 million gallons. And the last phase is to get more water. And more water has come from the desalination plant, which I have been proud to say is already in the system producing water that we're consuming, and the new drilling that we've done at Maddens. In fact, we're now constructing some pump stations at Maddens, which are nearing completion. So the infrastructure of water is expensive, but this government has continued to invest. I think I asked the minister recently to give me a sense in the last decade or so how much we've invested, and it's upwards of $50 million that Nevis has invested in water development over the last decade. So when you turn on the tap anywhere in Nevis, anytime, morning, noon, or night, you have water, portable, busing pipe. That is the nature of water in Nevis, and I'm very proud of that. We have noted the slight uptick. I use the word slight because I'm hopeful it doesn't get beyond what it is now of violent crime on St. Kitts. You say when your neighbor's house is on fire with your own, but because we're one country and the freedom of movement between the both islands, the truth is that the problem in St. Kitts is a Nevis problem as well. I am optimistic. In fact, I had asked for some statistics on my way here on the state of crime in Nevis for this year. I don't yet have those, but I'll make those available to you once I have them. But I'm really hopeful that the police can, nip this in the bud very quickly. We know in the past we've had a lot of tit-for-tat retaliation, and that has just led to the carnage. On Nevis, I want to commend Superintendent Alonzo Carty and his team. I think they've been doing a wonderful job, and I commend him behind his back, so I commend him publicly. Mr. Wakely Daniel, the Permanent Secretary, he's a primary liaison between the Premier's office and the police, and I think the police in Nevis have really been doing an excellent job. I want to commend them for the work that they've been doing. But as you know, I always say crime is a social problem. You know, there was no police force reported in the Bible when Cain killed Abel. There were no security cameras, as far as I'm aware. So we understand that we invest to try and prevent and try to interdict. But the reality is that crime is a social problem. And once people have their personalities and their difficulties, from time to time, crime will happen. All we need to do as a community is to continue to encourage our people not to engage in criminal activity. And the fact that there's work available, in fact there's opportunity available, and that is one of the things we're trying to do with Destiny and projects like that, is to encourage greater investment. I am convinced that when people are gainfully employed and business are involved in growing their business, growing wealth, creating wealth, that they don't have no time for a violent crime. They're not engaged in going out there and engaging in some of the activities that some youngsters have done. So it's a holistic approach to developing the island, but in order to achieve that, we need an island that is safe, and I commend the efforts of all that have been involved. I said Alonzo Carty and I commended P.S. Daniel, but I also want to say something that perhaps I don't say enough, and that is to commend the church and the faith-based community. They labor outside the lights and outside the cameras every day, inculcating in our people, particularly our young people, the right moral virtues. And I want to commend them for the work that they've done and continue to do. I think the work of the church is sometimes not mentioned quite enough, and I thank them for their partnership in helping us through this current phase of having a Nevis that is quiet, that is peaceful, and where we haven't had the difficulties that we've had in the past. I'm praying and hoping that it remains so. The exogenous shocks will impact the Nevis economy, Ms. Hewlett, as they will impact every economy around the world. I'm already hearing that in some countries they're declaring fuel and energy emergencies in places like the Philippines, places like those. We are grateful that we're still getting supplies of fuel for our vehicles and for our generating sets at Nevis. But the truth is that that is going to come at a higher cost. And I believe that, as I've said repeatedly, these are the situations where we of this world must understand that notwithstanding that we're miles away from conflict, notwithstanding that we have no say in some of these conflicts, we still pay a price. And that is simply the nature of the world. When these wars would have wrecked the economies in these small island developing states, there's nobody who's saying, oh, here's a check to help you. Here's some assistance to cushion the impact. They're saying to small islands like ours, already struggling to do the necessary in terms of development, that you must now find the resources to offer relief to your people, caused not by any decision that Mark Brantley took, but by the foolish decisions that are being taken elsewhere. And so, unfortunately, that is the world in which we live, and we just have to do the best that we can. But I do anticipate that there will be shocks, and that is why I have been so passionate about this renewable energy project, the geothermal project, because I think that's the only way. If we grow more of our own food, if we generate more of our own energy, that we will be able to deal with these shocks and insulate our people from them. The geothermal contract, I'm told, has been signed. I believe there's official ceremony that is being anticipated, but the actual documentation is in place. Icelandic Drilling is the company that has been selected, and I think that has been signed between Icelandic Drilling and Nevis to proceed with the project. So we anticipate that will proceed apace. There's some surrounding work to be done some lands to be purchased in the area, and we are working on all that. We're in the process of setting up a geothermal unit so that we will have a team that is dedicated now 100% to that, because currently what has been happening is that the people of Nevlik, who have their Nevlik work to do, have also been involved with geothermal. I think I can say that Mr. Gordon, who, might be Mr. Gordon's first name? Albert. Mr. Albert Gordon, who was the general manager at Nevlik, he has left us, but not left us. So he has left physically, but we've retained his services to assist us continue now, but exclusively on the geothermal side of things. He has been instrumental, and I want to pay homage and respect to him because he has really been instrumental in getting us this far. The knowledge that he has brought, the hard work that he has brought has been incredibly helpful to getting us this far in this process. So we anticipate that that is going to proceed. You asked about the plant construction. The plant construction, we expect that we'll have a request for proposals to go out. I'm not sure where that is, but last I was told that was being finalized. So the idea is that as we start with the drilling, we have that other process working in parallel. The sense was that that process should be the easier part of the process, because the riskier part is the drilling. So that's where we're having so much difficulty getting funding for the drilling. But once the drilling is done and the resource is there, then the rest becomes far easier. And that's where we anticipate that the private sector will come on board. You say that elections are in the air. I don't know. Prime Minister Drew, it's in his back pocket. He has until next year, late next year. So he has maybe a year and almost 6 months left to determine. It will be up to him and his team whether they go early or they wait it out and go after the 5 years. I don't know when he's going to go, but what I can tell you, Ms. Hewlett, is that the CCM is always ready. And so if Prime Minister Drew were to call the election tomorrow, Big Blue will be on the road the day after. The CCM is always ready. So I want to make that very clear. Nobody can take us by surprise with any election. We are ready. We are in a constant state of readiness. In fact, we already have jingles out there. One is already on the top 10 charts for the Caribbean, right? We are ready. So I am waiting, as all of us are waiting. It will be for Prime Minister Drew to do what he decides to do. But the CCM, the Concerned Citizens Movement, is ready to rumble. Any other questions for me?
Just to follow up on the situation with the impact of fuel costs and what's not, we know every time that that happens, the people are told to tighten their belts and to make adjustments and what's not. What is the NIA doing in terms of tightening its belt in the face of, increased costs? Sorry, Elke Hewlett.
Ms. Hewlett, what are we doing? One, I have said to the team that we need to put a freeze on any new hiring in the government. As you know, I've complained and complained. It's one of the very, very difficult problems, and that is the size of the public sector and the size of our wage bill. Capital projects you can delay. You can decide that you're not going to do them this year again because the money isn't there, but when you hire people, you have to pay them. And so we are looking at doing a freeze in terms of new hiring so that we can honor our obligations to those people who are already employed to the government. The other thing is that we have issued a directive that all government vehicles be parked at the end of the workday. It is a matter that has concerned me for a long time, but we are only allowing vehicles now to be out that have stated permission, I think the new policy says, from the Office of the Premier, because there has to be a justification for that vehicle being out. The days of government vehicles being parked at local bars and restaurants and people lining in the vehicles and going about it as if it's a private vehicle, we are trying to, be done with that, and we're trying to get our people to be more responsible. So we have said that the vehicles need to be parked at the end of the workday, unless there's special permission to have it outside work hours. We understand that some people work at emergency services, some people work, in terms of the press, They have to be at things after hours sometimes. I recognize that, but that is the intention, to ensure that we control that. Because what happens, I think many people in the public don't understand, it's not just the wear and tear on the vehicles, but those vehicles have to be fueled up every few days. So we find our fuel bill as government is quite high because those vehicles keep going to the garage and to be filled up. Right? Some go on a Friday afternoon to be filled up, but that is lineman gas for the weekend. So we have said that that needs to stop. So those are two of the immediate initiatives that we have taken. We have seen the initiatives on the fiscal side that the Prime Minister has announced in terms of trying to cushion the cost of fuel. We don't know, to be honest, where this is going, because so long as this war is prolonged, so long as the Strait of Hormuz continues to be closed. Initially it was Iran closing it, now it looks like the US is blockading as well. So that is in fact exacerbating the problem. And this is, you know, major conflicts between big powers. Poor little Nevis paying a price. What do we have to do with that? But that is why I keep saying that in our homes, in our communities, in our island, we need to be more resilient and self-sustaining and self-sufficient. So when we hear war break out in the Middle East, we are not worried because our energy grid is secure. I think that's the way that we need to start to think. And those young leaders who are coming through, the next generation, I definitely want them to be of that view, that we have to push our own sustainability, because we cannot depend on the world in the way that we used to depend on the world. There is no charity out there anymore. The world has become a very difficult space, and we must look out for the best interests of our people here locally. Anything further for me?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bjorn Hanley, and I am a digital content creator. I have 2 YouTube channels. On Beyond Uncut, I react to breaking news that affect the Caribbean and Africa, and on Beyond Travel, I showcase the beauty of the Caribbean and African culture and environment. I am also a resident of St. George, Gingerland. I have been living in the constituency since the early 1980s, so I have some serious concerns here about my constituency. Let me start by congratulating the organizers of the Gingerland cricket tournament that is happening now at the Hard Times playing field. I think it's a very successful event so far, and it's innovative, and I am very much impressed, and I am encouraging everyone to come out every Sunday. Not this Sunday coming, the next one. They will start up again. But I have been getting a number of complaints about the lights at the Hard Times playing field and also the Gingerland hard court. Those lights were put up since 2022, but they have never worked. My question is, what is the update on those lights? Will the lights at the Hard Times playing field be turned on before the end of this successful cricket tournament that is happening? And also at the Gingerland hard court as well. What is the update there? Right next to the Gingerland hard court, we have Crony House. In the past, over 10 years ago, that building was used as a library and post office. That building has been now abandoned for over 10 years, and it is now being used as a designated smoking area and other antisocial behavior that is conducted in that building by school children. I would have passed that building several times, and I see school children in there smoking. So it's unfortunate that an abandoned building is now causing us antisocial issues in the community. What is the update on that, on Crony House, and what is your plan for that very important building in Gingerland? Also, across by the police station, Gingerland Police Station, we have an abandoned government-owned house that has been there for over 10 years now, abandoned for over 10 years now. during the day that it's full of bush inside there, and you have sheep and goat in there now feeding. At least it is providing food for our wonderful animals. But we want to know what is the plan for that building at that house right next to the police station. It is owned by government and it is sitting there abandoned. Also, the historic Gingerland Public Market. That facility has been abandoned for a number of years, well over 10 years. I have been getting some complaints that the roof is in a state of disrepair. Nothing is happening there at that building. What is your plan and overall vision for that market and the surrounding areas there? Also, Indian Castle. What is your overall vision and plan for Indian Castle? Thank you.
Mr. Hanley, you've asked me quite a few questions, so let me try my best to answer. I too congratulate the organizers of Cricket at Hard Times. I was up there on Sunday and I was blown away. I'd heard about it, but it was my first time going. So young Trevier Smitten and the team, I want to congratulate them. They've done a marvelous job, and it's great to see initiatives from the community, for the community. It was no government-sponsored event. It was these youngsters putting it together themselves and bringing teams from all over. I don't think I saw you playing cricket, but I did see you in the crowd walking around. But I really had my first taste of it, and I really would like to go back. I will tell you that while I was there, Mr. Hanley, if I spoke to 20 people, 19 of them asked me about the lights. So it's clearly an issue. And I recognize that because the problem that you had up there was you had such a massive crowd, and then by 6 o'clock, you had to shut down everything because there's no lights. So when you think about the vendors and how much more activity you could have. So I'm not going to argue. I think that the lights are necessary. And what I can say is that perhaps because I anticipated you may come today, I spoke to Nevlek just this morning. Nevlek is telling me that by Thursday of this week, the light should be up. So I'm prayerful that that is the case. There were some issues initially with transformers. There was quite a bit of work and expense that Nevlek would have to go through. But at Hard Times, the light should be up by Thursday. That is what I've been told. Nevlek is also today, in their defense, Nevlek is not the contractor. The contractor is a youngster called Shamari or something like that, right? He is the actual contractor, but Nevlek had to do move some poles and put some new, I think they call it dressing, on the poles in order to make it possible. So Nevlek is telling me that their piece is going to be done by Thursday, so once Shamari is in position, the light should be there. I have said to them that I want those lights to be up for the next occasion that the cricket is happening. Right? And I share your views on it, that it has been really a long wait to get this done. And so we need to get it done and to move forward. I know the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who's the area representative, he has been quite adamant about it. The Honorable Troy Liebert, who's the Minister of Sport, has been involved very heavily in it as well. And I have got involved, since I tell you, 19 out of 20 people, that's all they wanted to talk about. I couldn't even watch the cricket because everybody asked me about the lights. So that is going to be resolved. I do not, however, have an update on the lighting at you mentioned the hard court. I don't have an update on that. I will have to come back to you on that. But certainly, I told him to focus on the playing field to get that cricket field ready and lit for the finals that's coming up, so that we could be there into the night. It's cooler, and as I said, you can extend the program. Crony House, the Gingerland Police Station, building is close to Gingerland Police Station, the Gingerland Public Market, Indian Castle. Let me try and take them in turn. Crony House, we have had various proposals in relation to Crony House over the years. In fact, Minister Liebert, Troy Liebert as Minister of Education, he has actually come up with various suggestions as to what we can do at Crony House. There has been some discussion within the cabinet about what is the best approach. Part of that, Mr. Hanley, is whether or not, and I don't know what the answer is, but whether or not the traditional library is of any, is that a good investment at this stage of our development? Because most information now is accessible from your handheld device. And so to go and build a whole structure with shelving and books and shelves and librarian and all of that, is that the way to go? Or whether it makes more sense to do a sort of digital center of some kind. That is the debate that is going on. I confess that for my part, I feel that doing something along the lines of a digital center is more forward-looking than trying to recreate a library with traditional books. Any book that you could think about now, you could get it on some one of these devices, right? So, to me, what we need is a greater investment in technology, and that is the discussion that is happening around Crony House at this moment. What we have done, though, is that in the development of the David Freeman Center of Excellence, we have created a facility there where some community activity can occur at that facility. So it's not as if we've left the people of Gingerland without an alternative. But on the library issue, I recognize the point, but I'm saying that we are ourselves internally trying to determine what the best use of that Crony House is going to be. That young people are using it for, antisocial activity, I think that's a matter that I will draw to the attention of the police so that they can certainly keep an eye on that and try to restrict our youngsters from engaging in activity which is not wholesome. You said there's an abandoned building next to the Gingerland police station. I can't speak to that because I'm not aware of what that building is or what the situation there is. So I'll have to come back to that. The Gingerland public market, we actually have quite an elaborate plan, Mr. Hanley, as to what we want to do at the Gingerland public market. We want to basically, the idea that the Honorable Eric Evelyn has is to revive that whole area. It has started, as you know, with the Clark One stop that is there, and then as you go across, you have 869 that is created. There's a gas station, there's a restaurant, there's now a nightclub, and I think they're going to be doing some other activities there. I think they have a mechanic garage and other things that are planned. Beauty salon. I think they're trying to get a branch of a bank and teller machines and all of that. You then have Best Buy. So that whole area we see can be developed into a David Freeman Center of Excellence, into a sort of hub and a hive of activity. So the intention really for the public market is to create something, and then in partnership with the youngsters, especially from in Rollins, who have been doing a lot of farming. There was a group up there that had said to us that they wanted to do more in terms of farming, that they'll have an outlet for the sale of their produce there. You are correct, because the roof is problematic, so part of it was the roof. But I believe that those plans were being done through Public Works in terms of what the final plans are going to look like. But the idea really was to develop the Gingerland market. So there is a plan in place to move forward with that. Indian Castle and the overall vision for Indian Castle, I don't know if you meant the Indian Castle Fruit Orchard or you meant Indian Castle more generally. Indian Castle more generally, we have been working with various potential developers. You recall that there was an Amman resort that should have gone down there that was talked about for many, many years that never happened. But we are talking to various developers to see whether that property can be developed into a resort. But we have said that we want something that is ultra premium, very high end, and we are hopeful that we could also get another golf course on the island in that area, which we think would provide a good balance in terms of 4 seasons and then that. Those discussions have been going very well. I've had some meetings, but you know, Mr. Hanley, I'm not the type to come and make a grand announcements. So I prefer when I have something that has been settled. We have not yet even had something to the cabinet. What we've had is a number of discussions. Some developers who have done some great work in the Cayman Islands, and I think I can call his name because he was here. He was well known. He's well known. But Mr. Greg Norman, who's a former world #1, a PGA golfer. Greg has been here with his team. They've looked at the site. They are having some follow-up discussions. I think they're back on the 7th of May. They're coming back for follow-up discussion. And then if they're minded, then they will make a proposal to us on that site. So we are looking at that. The Indian Castle Fruit Orchard will continue. And we are hoping, as I said, to get that up to its full potential and to generate the level of food and activity that we think it can generate. So that's as much as I can say to you. As again, the abandoned house you said next to the General Police Station, I'll have to investigate that because I'm not familiar with that. But I pray that I've been able to answer the other questions that you had. Yes, is there anything further for me?
Ms. Budgeon, once more, Von Radio. Preliminary works already taking place on the airport project. Can you provide an update on the impending project? And is there any update on the Bureau of Standards Laboratory that we learned a few months ago will be constructed? I think that it's sponsored by the US government. Is there a timeline on the completion of constructing this building? And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Budgeon. On the airport project, we had hoped that we would be able to kick off that project already. The financing on the airport side of it, that is on the runway side, that financing has been secured. The financing on the landward side, which is to reconfigure the road, we have hit a bit of a snag there because the Taiwanese government has come forward, negotiated with us, and have offered us a $20 million facility to allow us to do those works on very, very generous terms. However, they need a guarantee from the federal government, and that has been with the federal government now for some months as they tried to decide. The federal government has shared the view that these guarantees add to their debt because the way guarantees are the Nevis debt, but the way that it is recorded, still recorded as their debt, and that they had concerns about the debt to GDP ratio going above 60%, which is what has been set. Our argument has been that this airport will add to the economic advancement of the country as a whole, and of course the repayment responsibilities, just like any other debt that we have, is really for the Nevis Island Administration and for the people of Nevis. The last conversation I had with the Honorable Prime Minister on this matter, he has asked that his FS and my PS, Finance, his Financial Secretary and my PS, that they meet to try and resolve that issue. So that really is the hold-up right now. That has been quite a few months that we've been trying to get that over the line. The Taiwanese are ready and willing to go. On the runway side of the airport, I think they call it the aerodrome side, on that side of things, that financing is ready and they're ready to go. So we are actually now considering, Ms. Budgeon, that rather than doing the project and starting all of it at once, we may just proceed to go right away with the extension of the runway and to do that side of the project, and then to consider when the funding is sorted on the landward side to then proceed with that, rather than having the entire project waiting, because the project was always to be done in two halves. It's just that we wanted the two halves to happen at the same time, right? So at the end of the day, as somebody pointed out to me, the planes need a runway to land on. That's what they need. And so focus on getting that done. That's the most important part of an airport project. So we're looking at that possibility because that funding is ready to go. In fact, they keep calling us and asking for a start date. So I'm hopeful that we can be able to move the entire project forward. But if not, then certainly that aspect of the project, we'd like to move that forward as quickly as possible. The Bureau of Standards, I have not had an update myself, Ms. Budgeon, on where we are. I know they did the excavation work and the foundation work, or the preparatory work that cleared the land, but I realize it's right outside my window, so I look at it every day. I realize that it has not yet kicked off in terms of the actual construction. I know that agreements have been signed and contractors are in place, but I've not had an update in terms of why. the start has not happened. So you're asking me for an end date. Right now, I would like to have a start date so that I could understand. It's a project that is being done through the disaster management with financing from the United States government. I think what they call them, the Southern Command. They're based in Miami, I think, Florida, somewhere. That's the financing. And it's quite, Southcom, yes, it's quite a significant investment that they're doing there. I think it's over $2 million US. So we are hopeful. So Ms. Budgeon, I will find out what they are doing in terms of timing on that. I confess that as I stand here today, I do not have the update in terms of when that project is going to actually start the construction on it. Although, as I said, local contractors, everybody have already been identified. Anything further for me?
Vernon George, the Observer. Recently, I think as last week, Regional Pollster Mr. Wickham had an interview with what's his name? Melvin Hanley. He stated that it will take another unity government to get rid of labor in St. Kitts. You commented on top of it and say you're not really getting into St. Kitts politics, but the palm is not weak. Is the CCM willing to take part in another unity government if needs be? Unity coalition, yeah, sorry, thanks. For the past couple of weeks, Honorable Alexis Jeffers and lately Mr. Spencer Brand has been talking about the airport expansion project and the funding. You recently touched on it a while ago. Everybody's talking about that part, but nobody's actually talking about the terms and conditions of the loan from Mr. Drahi. Can you give us an update on top of that, please?
Okay, thank you very much. CCM is concerned about continuing to appeal to the people of Nevis and continuing to make the case that in Nevis, we are the only party that can be trusted to take care of the needs of our people, whether in Charlestown or in Bastia. I am not like some, Mr. George, to start to engage in conjecture about coalition and unity and governments, because you must have seats before you can talk about any coalition. So I'm focused on what I should be focused on, which is ensuring that the Concerned Citizens Movement continues to make the case to the people of Nevis that we are the best party to represent them. Once we have made that case, then and only then would we be in any position to talk about whether we can be at the table. So you have to find a way to get to the table, and that is what I'm seeking to work on now. That is where my efforts are. You asked about the loan arrangements with Mr. Drahi. I'm sorry that you say that there's been no information. We don't normally, we clearly wouldn't publish loan arrangements, but I can tell you that the loan is a loan that is to NASPA and to the NIA. It is open-ended. When I say open-ended, it means that Mr. Drahi has not said that it has to be paid back by X time. We can pay it back tomorrow, or we can pay it back over 20 years. It is my hope, of course, that we'll pay it back as quickly as possible. And the other thing about it is that in terms of the repayment, the repayment is being done through a formula in terms of the proceeds of the airport itself. So basically, it will be based on the activity at the airport, the revenue generated at the airport. Mr. Drahi would get paid from that in terms of repayment, with, of course, the position that we, as Nevis, can pay any amount at any time over and above that. If we get the ability to pay tomorrow, all of it, we can do that without any penalty. The loan, I believe, is attracting an interest rate of, I hope I'm correct, that is 5%. That is the interest rate that is being charged on the loan. So it's really a commercial rate. But the repayment terms, as I said, are quite open. It is largely up to the NIA in terms of how we structure that repayment. Clearly, like any loan, the quicker you pay it off, the better. And so we would certainly be trying to accelerate those payments as and when we can. But that is the broad basis on that arrangement with Mr. Drahi in relation to that side of the project. Anything further for me?
Good afternoon, Elke Hewlett, Department of Information. You recently were a featured speaker at the South Pac conference in Canada. I think it focused on financial services and the like. How is this jurisdiction looking in terms of growing out that industry? I know that's one of the areas you're looking at in terms of revenue as we look to other things besides the basket of tourism. Thanks.
Ms. Hewlett, thank you very much. Yes, I was in Canada. In fact, I was in Vancouver as a special guest of the South Pac group. They have leading trust service providers in the Cook Islands as well as here in Nevis, and spoke on the industry here, the trust business in particular on the island of Nevis. I can tell you, Ms. Hewlett, that I loved this particular conference because it was a small group of dedicated individuals, that is, individuals who are industry leaders, business people, and they focused almost exclusively on Nevis and the Cook Islands. So it really was a tremendous forum where Nevis was everywhere, on everybody's lips. And it turned out that there were many, many intermediaries who were already using Nevis. And so my job was, I was kind of pushing on an open door in the sense of telling them I want them to do more business with Nevis. I wasn't trying to persuade them to come to Nevis, they knew Nevis, but to do more. And so I want to thank South Pac for giving me that opportunity. We have been promoting Nevis quite aggressively in terms of financial services in places around the world. I mentioned in the past that I've been to Panama and had discussions there. We have recently appointed a head, Ms. Rita Hawkins, that I reported on in the last press conference, ahead of the Nevis Finance, which is the forward-looking entity that will now do our marketing. We have also appointed a head regulator in Mr. Cadogan. Again, I would have reported on that. So we are putting the pieces in place that we really want to take Nevis now to the next level to make financial service a significant player in what we do. Last year, we had an excellent year. And in fact, the revenue from financial services went over $20 million for the first time. We are hoping that we could double and triple that if we do things right, if we attract the right players and bring the right business people to the fore. Already I can report that many of the top firms in Panama are registering in Nevis. They are coming in, they want to have a presence here. There are many of them now going through a process what we call nesting. Nesting simply means that they actually have a license, but they don't yet have their own premises. So they're nesting with somebody else. So a lot of the law firms now, a lot of the trust companies here are providing services to these new licensees. We are hopeful, however, that once they get the legs under them, they will be renting office space and opening offices and employing people in the jurisdiction. So we have an overall plan, Ms. Hewlett. It is part of our diversification effort, and I think that the plan so far has been going remarkably well. I'm hoping that with the addition of Ms. Hawkins in particular, we'll be able to go out and access new markets and that the jurisdiction will continue to grow. I can tell you that so far this year, we are already up on last year. So the growth pattern that we saw has really been continuing. And we have other products now, like the gaming product. We have the product like the unlimited partnership product, and all of those are new products that have been introduced that we are hopeful that once we put the muscle behind it and the marketing and let people know that they are available, that can lead to even more business. So we are very optimistic about financial services. Nevis is now a jurisdiction that is over 40 years old in terms of its maturity. People trust the jurisdiction, they know the jurisdiction, and they understand that here you have a stable democracy, a rule of law, stable court system, independent court system, and all the ingredients that you need. And we have legislation that is really international standard in terms of what we do. So I anticipate that that sector is going to continue to grow, and it would be remiss of me if I didn't thank all of those private sector individuals who participate in the financial services sector and encourage it to continue growing from strength to strength. I gather there are no more questions, and so I want to thank all of you for being here. We went extra long today, so I would hope that that means that I was able to answer most of your questions, and if there are, of course, follow-ups, I will certainly be willing to do that, including Ms. Hewlett getting you the recent statistics on the criminal activity. Thank you all very much.